show that we do twice a week where we talk about all the latest in pop culture news, gaming news, and just everyday news, things that are happening in the world, in a really nice discussion that I have here every night. Every time we do this. I'm Price of Reason, of course, and with me I have my co host, Professor R2. How's it going, Professor?
Doing all right. Just the New Year's behind us, the Christmas season's behind us. Now it's kind of this, we're rolling into these January sort of doldrums when there's not just a whole lot happening out there in the world. Of course, uh, seems like they've done plenty to make sure we have things to talk about with fires and all sorts of other things going on. So
You know what? Every day, even amidst what seems like a slow news day, there's so much going on. There is really actually a lot to talk about. For starters, as you could see on the thumbnail, I saw something today because I guess Jimmy Kimmel went back to work,
goodness, yes, I saw that
and
too.
he went and he had stuff to say about the fire. Now, I'm going to play a segment or try to play at least a certain part that I saw that he was talking that kind of annoyed me. I just feel like at this point, we were watching Adam Carolla last week. What he was saying when he was talking about the fires, he was so based, and I was looking throughout the years at his type of broadcasts and things he would talk about, and he always seems much more laser focused on talking about things without all that kind of agenda and propaganda. He just asks real questions, and he seems just very based. It's funny how they both started on the Man Show together. Jimmy Kimmel went full on establishment selling out to the extreme, whereas Adam Carolla went seemingly in the other direction.
Very, very much so. Yeah, very opposite directions.
Yeah, they're so different. And after we saw Adam Carolla basically saying that he thinks even the most hard left people in California, when they start figuring out the damage that was done here, dealing with insurance companies, getting permits to rebuild, dealing with the bureaucracy in California, he said he thinks that a lot of people are going to start turning, maybe abandoning their kind of hard left positions and ideologies and things like that. He kind of considered the whole situation a type of wake up call for people. Meanwhile, you have Jimmy Kimmel. Hard to believe they both were such good friends and hosting a show together. I wonder if they're even friends today. Honestly,
I kind of doubt it,
I doubt
honestly.
it. I feel it wouldn't surprise me. I don't know, and I'm just speculating. It wouldn't surprise me if both of these guys don't even talk to each other. That's how different they are. But let's look at Jimmy Kimmel's kind of establishment, very kind of left wing propaganda type of explanation to what's going on. And when I say left wing, I'm not talking about moderate left. I'm saying that anything that's kind of very hard left is usually what you'll see from this guy. Almost like he downloads his talking points from a certain party that tells him what to say, and his show has just become a platform for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, very much part of what I think some people would call the progressive left, or something not traditional liberal, or textbook liberal, as they would say.
And of course, like in Kimmel's case, I have to say at least he didn't take over Jay Leno's slot or Johnny Carson's slot like Jimmy Fallon. He didn't take over what Letterman did on CBS. This was his own kind of
Yeah,
slot himself because ABC didn't used to have that kind of late night competition. So I'll give him credit that he didn't ruin the legacy of, let's say, a Johnny Carson or David Letterman the way those other guys are ruining theirs, Colbert and to a lesser extent Fallon. But I guess what I'm saying is he didn't ruin somebody else's legacy, but still that slot used to mean that you're entertaining people at a late night hour. And really, instead of focusing on that, I can't believe it at how political he's become. But let me try to share this thing. Are you ready?
yeah.
Tell me if you can hear it.
Oh, it's not presenting. Yeah, switch to presenter view.
Okay, let's see. Can you see it now?
Yeah.
Let's see if can you hear it?
It's been a
Yes.
very scary, very stressful, very strange week here in LA, where we work, where we live, where our kids go to school. We are back in our studio, which we had to evacuate on Wednesday. That's our building right there, the El Capitan. That is how close this fire was to our theater here. Many of us had to leave our homes in a hurry. Some of our coworkers lost their homes. That's Hollywood. It's been terrible.
I understand it's an emotional thing. I just feel like Jimmy Kimmel sure weeps a lot these days.
Oh yeah, this is his shtick now. He's the Shooty Gatwa of late night hosts. It's just
He-
every episode is tears now.
He isn't, and I don't quite get it. Why is he always weeping? Anyhow, let's see what he says.
He knows he's going to lose his show
Everyone
soon.
who lives in the city knows someone, most of us, multiple people, families, friends, colleagues, neighbors whose houses burned down. And the truth is, we don't even know if it's over. We had 100-mile-per-hour winds fueling this nightmare. As of tonight, the winds are back. And I think I speak for all of us when I say it has been a sickening, shocking, awful experience, but has also been, in a lot of ways, a beautiful experience because once again, we see our fellow men and women coming together to support each other. People who lost their own homes were out volunteering in parking lots, helping others who lost theirs. And tonight, I don't want to get into all the vile and irresponsible and stupid things our alleged future president and his gaggle of scumbags chose to say during our darkest and most terrifying hour. The fact that they chose to attack our firefighters, who apparently aren't white enough to be out there risking their lives on our behalf, it's disgusting, but it's not surprising.
Here's the issue that I have. First of all, he makes it seem like, okay, like, all these scumbags and Trump and whatever, they've politicized this whole thing and they're making comments and things like that. And what's he doing exactly? Is he not at this very moment doing the exact same thing
Of
that
course.
he says that he doesn't like? Didn't he just make this very political, considering that he said it wasn't a political matter?
Yeah, it's okay if it's politicized as long as they're the ones politicizing
Right,
as long as how it goes. Yeah.
So right, as long as he's framing the narrative the way he wants. And notice how he also said, the president and his people, they didn't like people who weren't white, who weren't white that was putting out fires. That is not what the conversation is. That is not
even close.
Now, if you remember, and you can do a recap here, Trump had very, very specific things that he's been saying about Gavin Newsom for about 5 years because of other fires that happened. And if you want to give us just some highlights about a few of the things that he was saying.
Yeah. No, it's the thing is that they want to immediately, and this is very common, a way that progressives try to respond to any argument that discusses things like DEI, equity initiatives, and so on. And that's what people were talking about. That's what Trump was talking about. Different people were talking about, specifically when he's talking about attacking our firefighters for not being white enough. What they were saying was not that it's a problem if we have black firefighters or Latino firefighters or lesbian or bisexual firefighter. None of that is what they're talking. What they're saying is that these departments and the state at large was emphasizing things like equity, different hiring policies to ensure that they had enough women or that they had enough people of this color or enough people of this gender identity or whatever, instead of choosing firefighters based on excellence, on how well they could do their jobs. That is what has been said. And of course, they want to twist that. They want to try and make it something perverted and weird and say, no. They're saying we don't want black firefighters. It's racist, blah, blah, blah. And that was never said.
Never said that. I never even heard things about, like, I don't think that I heard anything about anybody saying, oh, it's not good if it's a black or Latino firefighter. That doesn't seem to be the conversation. Anywhere that people raise the issue, they say that, the top 3 people that are supposed to be in in this fire department are 3 lesbian women, which again, in and of itself, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the fact that all 3 of them are that, and the fact that they, once they were hired, all said, "Oh, well, now we're going to start, implementing all these policies. We need to bring more LG, more this, more that, more DEI." That's when things become strange, because if it's just, first of all, statistically that all 3 of them would be that, it seems a bit odd. It seems more like somebody made a decision to do that, rather than, do you get what I'm trying to say? If there was one of them, you'd say, okay, well, she was good for the job. But once
Yeah.
there's 3 of them, it almost feels like a policy. And once these
Yeah.
3, once you hire them, they talk about expanding the policy and bringing more people like that. It starts becoming a situation where they seem to be too focused on the DEI aspect rather than on what they're supposed to do. With all due respect, all this DEI, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You need firefighters that'll go fight this fire. So I think somebody making a comment about their hiring practices and how much they've invested, isn't one of those officers like a DEI commissioner of sorts inside the fire department or something?
There have been some that they've made different comments. There's been a few things that have been mentioned. There was of course the one very famous clip now the viral clip of the assistant or junior, the lead, not the head of the LAPD, but like the second in command there, saying,
Okay.
was the, butch lesbian, saying, well, people ask, if I could carry their husband out of a fire. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, if I have to carry him out of fire, he got himself in a bad place. And it's
I
like,
remember that.
that's not the point, dumbass. You
Right,
need to be able to do the job as well as any other, individual who comes in here. If you can't carry a man out of fire, maybe that person didn't get himself in a bad place. Maybe that man was in a wheelchair or disabled, or
yeah,
maybe that man was crushed by, falling debris or something. You need to be able to carry him out of there. I don't care whether you're a lesbian. I care whether you can do the job. And I think it's not just that that there's a lot of, it's a little bizarre that there's so many of these butch lesbians that are
and
part of
again,
the
if there was,
LAPD.
let's say, if there was 3 people,
Yeah,
one was like a dude with like a lot of experience, one was like, I don't know what, it could be a man or a woman, but I'm just saying the
yeah,
fact that out of 3 of them that were like the top jobs, there's 0 men and all 3 of them are lesbian, it
yeah,
kind of feels like there's an angle here that there's a certain hiring
yeah,
policy that's been put in place. And when they were hired, they're also saying, we need more women here. We
yeah,
need more this here. It's like, this isn't that kind of job. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Here, unfortunately, with fires, you need the biggest and strongest and brawliest men that'll like that'll pick up the hose and put out the fire. And the other
yeah,
thing is, and this is also weird to me, he makes it seem like all of Trump's criticism was that he had some kind of problem with his DEI hire. That really wasn't the big portion of the criticism that was directed at Gavin Newsom, which Jimmy Kimmel is clearly protecting. If you remember, Trump, when he was doing that Joe Rogan podcast, talked for close to 10 minutes about the problem in California, problems with
yes,
Gavin Newsom, and how he's mishandled the whole water situation. And he also started criticizing him maybe in 2019. So this is something that's ongoing for years now. He's been criticizing points that have nothing to do with his DEI, which were probably much more important. This is just some form of gaslighting, the way I see it.
yeah. And again, I would just say that as far as these people, yes, it seems very odd that there's so many of, these different identities, that are part of the fire, you know, fire people in LA and in the state of California and whatever. That honestly does not concern me. It's the idea that they were not hired because they were capable. They were hired because of their identities. And because if we hired it, I don't really care who they, if they can do the job and they can do that job with excellence, they can do that job well, then they deserve to have the job. But I think one of the bigger concerns and the bigger complaints have been not necessarily who they've hired, but simply where the money is going. that there are millions that could have been spent on equipment, that could have been spent on, any number of improvements that could have been made, could have been spent on hiring more firefighters, whatever. But no, there are all these initiatives that have been, have spent millions and millions of dollars on just diversity, just making sure that we hire the right identities of people rather than people who are the best at those jobs. And it's incredibly frustrating to think that probably, very likely, uh, you know contributed to the deaths of people in these fires. It contributed to people losing their homes, and that there's a lot of them that they're never going to be able to accept that all of that diversion of money to all of these diversity programs led to led to people's deaths, led to people's lost
It,
property.
also, it just seems to me at this point that he collected Gavin Newsom. He had money for those homeless people. He had a whole program. Nothing happened with it. There was all this money. Also, they take a lot of tax from people in that place,
A ton.
especially in California. Nothing was done with the water. He already had those fires a number of years ago. See now
Every
he's
year.
trying to go. He's trying to go to different shows, and he's like, "Well, I'm going to learn from the mistakes this time, and we're certainly going to implement some changes." It's like, buddy, you already had the time to implement your mistakes. This is already the second time it's maybe worse than the previous one. And yes, I will say this, the winds were high. It's not that I don't think that he personally started the fires, but I think that the fact that this has been a hot topic of discussion for years, there were uh, issues before that were big, but a little not quite as big as this. And rather than implementing changes, which people kept telling him to do, he ignored it because of that smelt fish and all this weird environmental stuff. There were moments that he needed to put his foot down, because at the end, what good is all the environment and all that stuff if you look at Los Angeles now?
Yep. And they've known that this is a problem. I mean, it's hilarious, honestly, if you go back and you look. Hilarious on one side, extremely tragic on another. If you really go look for it, there's records of fires, massive wildfires in these hills all over California, going all the way back to the early 1900s, late 1800s. Fire is just part of nature there, and it's especially true when you have these areas like LA that are so close to that naturalized area. There's trees just running right up to these neighborhoods in these huge areas. And so it's incredibly dangerous. It's incredibly easy under these conditions. Yes, these were the worst possible conditions. They had a really dry, rainy season. They had the heavy Santa Ana winds coming in, blowing stuff. And when that happens, there's not a lot they can do to fight those fires. I think I mentioned the other day, like you saw sort of later on in the week, you saw these planes flying and dumping, fire retardant and dumping water on these fires. They could not do that in the first couple of days, not because the resources weren't there, but because you can't take a plane out and fly it in 100-mile gusts of wind. You can't, it's too dangerous. And
Right.
so, that they knew that these types of fires were possible. They knew there was a huge risk. They have seen these massive fires before. They should have been better prepared. They should have known they needed to have the reservoirs on hand full of water so that they could start fighting these fires on the ground. And the reality is that California voters approved a proposition in 2014, a huge multi-billion-dollar bond to build new reservoirs in California. 2014.
Yeah.
How many have been built since 2014?
I'm guessing zero.
Absolutely none. Not even a single one was completed since that started. And some of the reservoirs that they had in place that were working, they now claim they're not functional, and so they don't fill them because they claim that there's something wrong with this or that or whatever. It's just insanity. They knew that this type of fire was possible, and they did nothing, or virtually nothing to prepare for it.
Now,
And it's just tragic.
sometimes you have a situation where you can say, "Well, I just got here. I was just elected governor. It wasn't me. I didn't know what was going on." But he's been there for years, and the fact that nothing moved, and he took money for that, he took money for the homeless. Nothing good has happened. And the truth is, he wasn't good as the for San Francisco initially, right? He was initially what was his title before in San Francisco? What did he do there?
Oh, I don't remember.
Didn't he,
Yeah.
first of all, like, wasn't he like the mayor of San Fran, then he was the governor of California or something? Didn't it start that he was in San Francisco first, and then he moved to be the governor of
Yeah, I know
California?
he's from San Francisco.
I'm trying to wonder, what was he before he was governor of
He
California?
was the 49th Lieutenant Governor of California, Mayor of San
Mayor of
Francisco,
San Francisco.
and he was a member of the board of
Perfect. That's what I was
supervisors,
going
San
for.
Francisco.
I was basically saying he started off in San Francisco, again, a place that used to be a wonderful place. If you look at it today, it is not what it used to be. Are so many issues in San Francisco today. It's funny because I saw the early development of this. Sometime, I don't know if it was maybe 2016, I want to say 2017. I went to San Francisco. There was something I had to do there. And when I went downtown and I was with a few people, just kind of, I wanted to just absorb the city and all that, whatever it is, the place. And I went to the downtown area, and I remember seeing a really good amount of kind of homeless people slash, it felt a little sketchy. And it felt like it was contained to a very specific area, but I kind of saw the early version of this. And today, when you show me a video of that same area, it seems like that was like the early stage, whereas now it just looks like complete chaos. So I
Yeah.
guess what I'm saying is there were problems that were brewing, and I'm fairly certain that some of these kind of policies that were not very well handled there, and he mismanaged things there. For some reason, I don't know how this guy failed upwards, because everybody loves him so much. He became the governor of California. I think I told you this before. He looks like a guy, if I was casting a movie, with his hair and the way he looks and all that, and his smile and how he looks slippery. If I was casting a show about a governor of California, he would be my casting choice. But it's fine because I would give him the lines to say, and he doesn't really have to be the governor. The problem here is he looks the part, but man, anytime he talks, there's just something that just comes off really annoying. Have you seen the interviews with him? Everywhere he goes,
Oh,
he's like
yes.
smiling and acting weird. What are you smiling about? What are you smiling about? This is the worst catastrophe, and you're standing around and chuckling for some reason. He sits around online and he's like, Elon Musk, he lied, Trump lied. Like, what are you tweeting? If I was a resident of California, the only thing I'd want to see is this guy, either working his ass off or really resign. I wouldn't want to see any of this. When are you sitting around bickering with people online? He's trying to collect money against Trump. I don't know. What are you dealing with now? It's like there's something about this guy that just I've never been a fan of his. And after this situation, I'm grateful that he didn't reach the point that he was running for president. I hope he never does. What they
Yes.
seem to be doing now, they're still trying to course correct this so they can have him run in 2028, because for some reason they think he's wonderful. I hope he never gets to 2028. And I like, in the sense of running for governor, I don't care what he does in his personal life, but I'm saying I hope he never gets to that situation that he's any kind of candidate. And I'd really like to see him, resign. He won't do
Oh,
that.
yeah. No.
They're trying to do a recall now. And what I've been seeing online, a lot of people are saying, listen, we've tried to recall him a number of times. The Democrats, like, there's a lot of Democrats that like him and they'll continue to vote for him. And that may be true, but I don't know. I really, how many things can California go through and still think that this guy is great?
I mean, everything that's been happening recently is absolutely dreadful. I would say if anything great has come out of this, it would be that we already know exactly what the campaign ads are going to look like if he does run for president.
Well, of course. Argendum says a lot of women think he's handsome. You know what? There is really more. That's why I said when I was casting for a show, not that I don't, I'm not a woman, so I don't know, but he looks like a slippery
Yeah.
kind of person to me.
Did you see the comment from Senpai 76? a couple minutes ago?
I missed it. What was it?
Says he's literally Joe Isuzu. Do you remember those commercials?
Remind me? That sounds familiar.
So there's the Isuzu commercials. There was the main character Joe Isuzu, who was like sort of the slippery salesman guy that would sell his
Yes, I
cars.
think I know what you mean. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
very handsome, giant smile all the time, right? And
hey, Marla, I hope that Tara's still doing okay.
we have a wild Sean Crummel.
Ooh, Sean's here.
Chat.
Nice to see you, Sean.
Hey.
That's what's nice about Sean. He just appears out of nowhere.
I'm sorry.
You never know when he'll arrive, but when he does, everybody's happy. So, how's it going, Sean?
No one's ever happy. I'm sorry. I'm super tired. I just wanted to join in and say hi.
Well, we're happy that you did, and we hope you'll stick around for a bit.
Yeah.
Until you doze off or something.
Well, now that you're talking about Joe Isuzu, man,
gets completely loopy, and who knows what happens while he's on the stream.
This is a very unexpected show. Unexpected things happen on it. Did he still? Let me see what else he says. This guy.
Instead, I want to focus on thanking those men and women because that's all we should be doing right now. And we should never stop thanking them.
Who's he thinking?
Our
firefighters.
Oh.
From LA were the first on the scene without hesitation. They were out there putting out the fires as best they could. And then we had
until your state ran out of water.
Yeah, they didn't have water as best they could.
Until your city ran out of water because it's mismanaged.
Did he lose his home?
Don't think so.
I don't think so. No. He'll probably his home will.
Oh, he'd be crying twice as hard if he had lost his home. He's not crying hard enough.
Right.
Firefighters from other states coming in, from Nevada, from Arizona, Texas, Oregon, Utah, Colorado, Washington, Northern California, New Mexico, Idaho, Maine. Firefighters came all the way from Maine. We have firemen and women from Mexico.
I love that he considers Northern California a different state.
Very grateful to them.
How many times?
I said I love that he considers Northern California a different state.
How many times has he mentioned was it Western North Carolina in this speech?
And to our police, our National Guard, our rescue workers, the doctors, the nurses, EMTs, the pilots working 12-hour shifts. Thank God for all of you. And if you want to thank these brave individuals with a donation, this is a very good place to start. Support LAFD.org.
Is that one of the real ones or one of those phony ones?
And I also want to thank our local news reporters who reminded us how important local television and radio and newspapers are, especially in time. How are you doing, Guillermo?
I'm doing good. Thank God, Jimmy. Thank God.
Guillermo almost had to come live with me. He almost had to evacuate on Thursday night. We had 19 people living with us and 4 dogs. It was unlike anything I have ever experienced. It's strange to look around your house and decide what you want to take and then fight with your kids over what they want to take, because we had to leave a lot of stuffed animals behind. One of our producers, Hera.
I think, though, the part where he talks about Trump is probably done, but he did, I guess, devote time to do all the other stuff, but he had to stick in those jabs and reframe the criticism. And it was very much protecting Gavin Newsom. There's no other reason to do this aside from that he's protecting him.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was it was annoying, but as expected. That's exactly what I thought that he would do, and he didn't disappoint, I guess. But I personally think I think I said this. If there was a situation that you didn't have other fires or other problems or other issues, and suddenly there was just one day of fire out of the blue, then you'd say, okay, well, we gotta all help. This is a tragedy. Let's all support California. This was an unexpected tragedy. But yes, it was winds. Yes, he didn't start the fires himself. But so many mistakes have been made over the course of so many years, And even though it's a word that's being tossed around a lot here, mismanagement, it is a thing, and he is certainly mismanaged the situation to an extent that I think that even alongside fighting the fires, if people say, you know what, this guy has mismanaged the situation, I don't think that at this point it's considered a bad thing to say it.
Yep. It's all very tragic, and I do agree that trying to politicize things at this point is a little in bad taste. Although I do think that some of the criticisms are definitely legitimate. Talking about all of the money that was spent in areas that had nothing to do with letting the fire department actually prepare to prepare to fight the fires, instead focusing on things like diversity and inclusion and stuff, instead of just finding the best possible firefighters to fill these roles. And all of that money wasted doing that was not spent on more equipment and more preparation and more training, and then the just absolute absurdity that is their preparedness as far as the water situation in the state. And I know there's a whole lot of crazy regulations and stuff. You know what? The vast majority of those were imposed on Californians by Californians themselves. And so they're going to have to decide whether some tiny fish or some traditional dry lands or something like that, or wetlands or whatever, are going to be worth protecting, or if they actually care about finding some ways to put water where it's needed so that they can protect the citizens of California.
So
Am
I
I
see
the
people.
only one that like when it came to I saw some story about two billionaires controlling all the water in California, and I was immediately thinking of Chinatown. Like that's the whole plot of that movie, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Bryce.
No.
No, I was reading because Gene Bondano was saying something that Newsom is Nancy Pelosi's nephew. I was reading about that today. He's not her nephew. There's something that her brother-in-law was married to his aunt or something, but they then divorced. It's not such a familiar connection that he's their direct nephew. I guess you could say he's somewhat of a sort of distant relative because of whatever divorce happened there. I guess he's not even a relative really, but there's some kind of very vague connection. But I wouldn't go as far as saying that he's her nephew, although it is funny to say it. I understand why people are holding on to it, even if there's like a very vague connection. It's a funny thing to say. But the truth is, what his relationship with her or not, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that he seems to be a darling within the Democratic Party, and they're doing a whole lot to still try to protect him. They're doing a big push, a big effort to try to reframe this as sort of a force majeure disaster, and he's just a wonderful guy doing his best. That's kind of the narrative they want to sell. I really, really hope that this narrative isn't going to stick, but
Did
I don't
you
know. You never know. Some people they're so fanatic about certain beliefs that they're not going to actually look at the truth and see it for what it is.
did you see a thing where people there? I keep getting things on Instagram where because I get a lot of conspiracy theories, probably because I liked a couple of UFO videos.
There you
And
go.
and they were like, "Oh, there's land usage and the city of the future and the Olympics and all these other things." And
Oh
then
yeah.
today, I saw a thing where Newsom was on like a news channel, and he was like, "Oh, I've been talking to the mayor from Hawaii after Maui had their issues." And he's like, "Oh, we got we're going to have some ideas for land usage in days and not weeks." And I was like, "Well, that sounds suspicious, a-hole."
Oh, I thought you were going to say you saw on Instagram that video of Gavin Newsom where he accidentally blinked with his second set of eyelids, and so you could tell that he was a lizard person.
That would not shock me. As sad as that is, it would not shock me.
Yeah, there's so many theories, so many conspiracy theories out there. Some of them, I mean, legitimately, yes. I mean, there's going to be a massive, rebuilding effort that's coming, and there's going to be a lot of people, especially those that were not the ultra wealthy, that are not going to be able to rebuild. They are not going to be able to afford to wait around for 2-3 years to go through all the permitting and everything that's going to happen. They're gonna, they're gonna end up moving somewhere else, or they're gonna, even flee the state perhaps.
So,
And yeah, there's definitely there's all these people who have been talking about the ideas of these 15-minute cities. Basically it's hilarious because I've been playing the recent video game that came out, the RoboCop Rogue City game, and so now I'm just thinking about like, oh, they're gonna build Delta City.
yeah. So like, I lost my thought. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
I
no,
lost my thought.
you also mentioned some of the issues with water in California and some
Yeah.
of the billionaires. That is actually, it is not entirely made up. It's not totally a conspiracy theory per se. Yes, the Resnick family
Mhm.
does own a large, a more than 50% stake. I think it's like 57% or something like that stake in a very large underground water bank, I believe. It holds like 500 million not million, 500 billion gallons of water. Much of it, which does get used for agricultural purposes. And so a lot of that goes to taking care of their stuff. Yeah, as Senpai 76 mentioned it in the Rumble chat, the wonderful company, which you would know, is pistachios, right? So a lot of it does go to to taking care of their agricultural issues. The reality is that 500 billion gallons, where yes, that's a lot. They're not taking all of that. They're probably consuming maybe 150 billion of those 500, and the rest is also going to other agricultural things and reservoirs and so on. And I mean, that 500 billion is fractional compared to what is available in the rest of the state. So yes, it seems a little weird. There's this billionaire who now has all of this water. Why is the billionaire got the water? But the actual amount that they actually control in that area is significant, but statewide, not really so. So yeah, there's a few of those different stories that have been going around. I will say that yes, in fact, it is a little on the irresponsible side. These massive groves of things like almonds and pistachios being grown in California, where water is such an issue, because they take tons of water to grow. It's wild how much you have to. I mean, any other crops you can think of, wheat, corn, sorghum, soy, any of they take a fractional amount of how much it takes to produce things like tree nuts. So it's kind of wild. They're like, oh, we grow all these almonds. Like, those take an enormous amount of water in a place that doesn't have it. That seems really strange, but yeah, it's just a reality.
Yeah, even in Burbank, when we lived there, we were like, this is basically a desert.
Yeah.
True.
And on that wonderful note, I thought maybe we could touch upon Skeleton Crew.
Oh boy.
Did you watch it?
I did. Not particularly. Not a very detailed watch. My attention was elsewhere.
You guys,
I
man.
had it on and I made it through it and went, well, that's over.
I really want to watch it, and then I think about it for about 5 minutes, and I'm like, I don't want to watch this.
This story could have been a 2-hour movie.
That's exactly what I was thinking again today. We've talked about it a few times. I'll tell you what I think. There were 8 episodes of this show. The first 6 of them, most of them, really, really annoyed me, with the exception of maybe 5 minutes in the 5th episode or whatever it is, where Jude Law's character takes like a darker turn, which I thought was kind of interesting. 90-something% of what I saw there was just boring, filler, stupid. Maybe you could have recrafted that, reworked that into maybe the first hour of a movie. Those first 6 episodes could have been the first hour of a movie, okay?
Mhm.
And you needed to make a lot of changes for that to work.
Yeah.
The idea with the kids, which I didn't love to begin with, but let's say I'm going with the kids, the Goonies in space, whatever it is, I'm
Yep.
even accepting this. They had to meet Jude Law, really form a bond with him, and then when he turns into a bad guy, then it would be a real twist. Then what happens is that the last 2 episodes I saw, 7 and 8, I thought were the best of the series. At least something seemed to be happening. Things were moving
Yes.
along. That could have somehow, again, not perfect. I would have fixed them as well. But if you would have used those as a foundation and worked them out to be better than they were, that could have been maybe the final act of a movie. The last 2 episodes.
Wait, is it done?
It's
Is it
done.
8
It's over.
episodes?
The last
It's-
episode aired this
Shocking.
evening. Yes.
I'm so
and
busy with work, I didn't even know it finished.
it was 8 episodes, and I'll tell you what, I think that this episode today was probably the best episode of the series. Again, not a
Mhm.
very high bar. It's just
Mhm.
that at least things were kind of happening. I still don't love this idea. I still think that this isn't really what Star Wars fans are itching to see. But if everything was okay with Star Wars, like the sequel trilogy was great and everybody was happy with Star Wars, and you had one movie that was sort of like a one-off, this kind of different thing, and it was executed and written in a much more concise and in a way that actually worked better with the story, maybe there was something to work with here. One of my main issues here at the end, I don't know if you know this, I don't know if you saw that whole scene in the control room with Jude Law and the parents and the kids. You
Yeah.
saw that, right?
Yeah.
So on one hand, this is the part that I don't like. He was trained supposedly by a Jedi that got killed. He's like a female Jedi. I don't know which Jedi it is that supposedly trained him. But at the end of the day, if he's a Jedi, on one hand, when he needed to make the father use the Force to just make the father fly off of those terminals that he was playing around with, he didn't
Mhm.
use the Force. And then later, suddenly, he does use the Force on the father. So, kind of his use of the Force here is selective,
Yeah.
which I
It's
never like that. I mean, the Force has always been sort of a tricky thing to begin with. I think that once you have Jedi Knights and the way they use it, Lucas somehow was able to make it work. Here, having him use the Force sometimes and then not using it and just making it go along with whatever the plot needs within that same scene, it starts becoming a bit annoying. I don't know
Yeah.
if you noticed
Yeah.
that.
Well, I will say, I guess with his use of the Force, I guess that didn't bother me quite so much because it seemed like it was more of a parlor trick for him most of the time. Like he wasn't particularly skilled with it, so it might not be the first thing he would go to. You know what I mean? Like if he
Right.
needs to pull somebody off, something or knock somebody over, he's probably more likely to give him a sock in the mouth than think about using the Force to try and throw him around because it's more of a secondary skill for him, right? It's because he's just not that well trained in it.
I'll
So
accept that.
What is his character then? Is he the rogue, the charming rogue? Is he the guy that had potential but never achieved it? Like what is his character then in the long run if you could distill it down to like a basic sentence?
He is a
gosh,
former Jedi. He's a former Jedi turned pirate, or he was okay. This is another thing which
Was
also
he,
annoys.
was he a Padawan or something?
yeah, he was
Oh,
never a Jedi.
he was
So
never a Jedi.
just
He was. Sorry, go on.
no, so he was just he was trained by somebody. So maybe he was a Padawan, or maybe he was not even a Padawan. Like I didn't quite.
This is sounding like a half-assed Kanan from Rebels. Like
Oh, it's
Yes.
not even that.
Yes.
No,
you
like
take
yes,
that
they
Kanan.
rated-
character and then you half-ass him.
They raided the pantry. He's exactly like Kanan. I know exactly what you mean. That Kanan was like not a real
Yeah.
Jedi. He was unofficial. Somebody tried to train him, but that somebody got killed. They went for the same idea here with Jude Law. That's a great example that you brought up. Only at least with Kanan, he was somewhat of a decent guy. This guy is just like a slimy guy, of course. And then what I had an issue with is this, and maybe I have an issue with the Kanan thing as well when I think about it. It used to be that the Force meant something about going from generation to generation. Luke was, Anakin's son. It seemed to have some kind of value. Here, it's like he said some Jedi lady found him, and he was orphaned or something like that, so she took him in. I don't remember, something like that. And then she taught him how to be a Jedi. It's like, I don't know if it works that way. I don't know if you just take a random orphan, and I don't think he becomes a Jedi.
Well, as they established in Ahsoka, which was an abomination, but they've basically established at this point anybody can be trained to use the Force. So
I hate that.
you no longer have to be somebody who has a special connection to the Force, midichlorians, blah blah blah, whatever. You no longer need to be
I
special
actually hate that.
to be a potential Force user. You just gotta exercise enough and use those Force powers enough that now you can start. You can start with like the 5-pound weights, and then you work your way up to bench pressing 500 pounds, right?
That might be George's fault though, because there was something where I don't know if it was an interview or maybe he was talking to Lawrence Kasdan or something, where he was like, the Force is like yoga. Like if you attribute enough time to it, you can become a master in it. And I was like, no, I've never liked the Force to be described as that in that way. Like I always liked the touch of God aspect to like Luke Skywalker and Anakin being like chosen ones. It's like the universe needs to change in this specific dynamic way, and now whatever it is beyond us is reaching into our universe to tap someone on the shoulder to say, you need to accomplish this. Like I can't stand that idea that Disney seems to have embraced, where anyone can be a Jedi.
You know who started?
And they've ruined it.
You know who started it?
Not George.
The person that started it in the Disney era is Rian Johnson with the Broom Boy. You think that Broom Boy was a minor thing, but the Broom Boy really was annoying. Even when I saw it in the theater, I thought to myself, why is this stupid, annoying little shit doing this thing with a broom now? And that's after I already hated the movie to begin with. And just to add insult to injury, that stupid Broom Boy is using the Force at the end. I'm like, what? What do you mean? They sat there and they saw, so now they can do the Force? It was so cheap and stupid. And they've never corrected that. Every bad decision that Disney, with Kathleen Kennedy at the helm, have made, they just kept doubling down, tripling down. And even this show that people say, oh, well, this is the good one. It's not as, not really as bad as the other ones. But think about it. I hate to say this because I wouldn't mind if this was a one-off. But notice how, again, there's no heroic Jedi. There's no heroic male Jedi, and whoever is a male is a bad guy, and he also happens to be white. I mean, the thing is, I wouldn't mind if this was like every time it's somebody else is bad, but it's like every time that's who's the bad guy is. It's like, if you want to know anything that has to do under Kathleen Kennedy's watch, either somebody is a coward, a bum, a jerk, a miserable asshole. Sorry, Sean. If you want to know, all you have to do is look, oh, this guy is white. Oh, he's the bad guy. I don't even need, it's just like, look back at all the stuff every time.
It's like you normally needed like 2 decades to create a trope in a movie series. They did it in like record time, like 6 years. Everyone knows the white guy is the bad guy.
Mary White says it's like Oprah for Star Wars. You got the Force. You got the Force. You know what? I actually very early on created a meme. This is already like 5-6 years ago. I did a meme with Oprah saying like, you got the Force. You got the Force. Or so you're a Jedi. You're a Jedi. Because that's what I feel like. Because they cheapened everything.
You get the Maui property. You get the Maui property. I'm sorry.
No, only after they fire the space lasers.
So yeah, I mean, the thing is, let's just look at the things. You have Force Awakens, okay? Force Awakens, Rey was the only, I think, white guys there are Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, legacy characters that should have been treated with respect. Han Solo was killed off like a sucker. And at the same time, Luke Skywalker, you only see him at the end. Next time you go into the next one, oh, Adam Driver, he's white, so he's like one of the bad guys. Next movie, again, Luke Skywalker is there. You think he's going to be a big hero. He tried to kill his nephew because he's a jerk. He doesn't want to train Rey because he's a jerk. He throws his lightsaber off a cliff. And at the end, begrudgingly, this was probably them thinking that they're so great. Begrudgingly, they let him do like a Skype call that he seems to be a little more heroic and then die. I mean, that was so annoying. It was so disrespectful that that's all they gave people, and then they killed him off like that. And along the way, until the end, you despise him already. they make you want to despise the biggest hero, one of the biggest heroes in cinema ever. Next movie, you have Rise of Skywalker. Adam Driver, still the enemy. You could say at the end he has a change of heart, but he already killed his father. How much change of heart can he have, really? You know what I mean? How much redemption?
So what does it say about women where they demonize white males, and then she is so in love, and all of the fans are so in love with this bad boy white guy.
Right.
Like, it makes women look like fucking
stupid
morons. Sorry.
Right.
Professor.
She likes her abuser because he at the beginning of the first one he kidnaps her and he like does abuse. She loves it. So basically, the third movie as well. No positive white male in sight. It's not me being bitter or anything. It's the truth. It's just that's what it is. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is it's not that I'm trying to be nitpicky. I'm going one by one. So we got that out of the way. I guess you could say the movie Solo. Is Han Solo really? See, when it's a legacy character and they have no choice because they're locked in and they have to present him in a rather positive light, immediately they surround him by a bunch of stunning and brave women who tell him what to do, are better than him, and make him look stupid. That's the only compromise they have, that if it's a legacy character, like that the movie is about him and they had no choice, they still made it that like Emilia Clarke was better than him and he's just an idiot and whatever it is.
I tried 4 times to get through that movie. I never got past the train heist.
Whew. That was a rough.
It's
rough
so
movie.
bad.
I got people that I know that really enjoy that movie, and I don't understand what part of their brain allows them to sit there and enjoy that.
I'll tell you what I think. It's the same thing that I keep telling you. If the sequel trilogy would have been great, and they're like, oh, we did this offbeat Han Solo thing, some people would have been liked it, maybe some goodwill. When I saw it, I thought to myself, this isn't a really good Star Wars movie. I thought to myself, like, it could have been worse than it was, but it wasn't really good. It was just kind of mid for me. I only watched it once and never watched it again, so I guess that says something about it. I never felt like, oh, I have to see more of this. Watched it once, it was mid. That's the best I could say. I guess on a Disney scale, that mid is considered a big achievement, but I mean, nothing, if you compare it to like the original trilogy or even the prequels, that doesn't even interest me. And I know if Sean hates the prequels, but it doesn't even reach
moments. I like moments of the prequels, but I can fast forward through them in like 5 minutes.
I you know what? I've always thought to myself that Revenge of the Sith, if he hadn't made a prequel trilogy and he just made one movie, a more polished version of Revenge of the Sith, just as a little bit of a background as how we got to the original trilogy, I think that could have been a really good movie. Because the way
bold that move have been, that would have been genius. We would have been like, Lucas is amazing, like the most genius forward-thinking person ever.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if he would have made that as a prequel, just one, I think people would have been cool with it. Imagine he just announces one day there's a prequel to the sequel trilogy. He calls it Revenge of the Sith, and you just see that one and an improved version of it. You fix a lot of issues that one had, but that one is the least problematic out of the 3. You fix that one. I think people would have said, okay, great, we got some backstory here about Vader. People would have been okay with it.
What's very funny is that, like, for all 3 of those movies, every single time I thought it was going to be called the Clone Wars. Like, I feel like a lot of us thought that those movies were going to be the Clone Wars, and they would be similar in tone to the original trilogy. And he never managed to live up to our expectations.
No. He then with the show The Clone Wars, there were some moments that I liked there, but
But then he was like, "Oh, there's a lot of rich, fertile storytelling ground," and I'm like, "No fucking shit, asshole! What the
wow,
hell?"
sorry, Sean.
Sorry,
Oh,
Professor.
sure, Sean.
Sorry,
Sorry,
Sean.
Professor.
Sorry, Sean.
But you know that he got you upset if you even used bad language.
Oh man,
But
I could bad language for like a decade with what he did to the prequels.
Oh, but beyond
Oh.
the prequels, let's look back at what Disney did. So
Yes.
they did Rogue One. Now, Rogue One, people
Mm.
claim that this is the best that they've done in the movies. And the truth is, it's a movie that 2/3 of it are really, really problematic. The third act of the movie, in my opinion, is somewhat
Amazing.
enjoyable, mainly
Yeah.
because a different guy came in, completely reshot that third act, and at least they did something that resembled a pretty cool space battle at the end. If you can overcome the first 2/3 of the movie, which are a complete snooze and a lot of issues there, you can
Yes.
somehow enjoy that third act. But again, in the movie, look what happened there. The main character is a woman, okay, like another Kathleen Kennedy insert. Then you have the person helping her is a less qualified, more diverse person, and of course, the only person that's white in the movie, if you see a white person, that's evil. Another one like that.
Oh yeah.
It's
No,
another one.
you-
Absolutely. The
you
same
were-
thing.
You were describing something a few minutes ago, and I was gonna be like, "Oh yeah, that's like Rogue One." Like that movie's not great, but like I was so like dead set against it going into it, and then like 5 minutes before I was entering the theater, I was like, "Oh, maybe it's just gonna feel like a random offshoot comic book one shot." And then I went and watched it, and I was like, "Oh, I kind of enjoyed that," because I didn't think of it as actually being a Star Wars movie, just being like a one-off, and I was like, "Oh, that's kinda good."
Yeah, Tom was saying that he uses bad language all the time. I think that's what he was saying.
Oh, I don't believe that for a second, sir.
Pooper doodle.
Whoa.
Sorry, Sean.
Harsh.
So we were talking about Rogue One has the white guy and they're bad.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did
Yep.
that. Solo, it's like they surrounded him by other people that are more stunning and brave than him, just because they had no choice. If they had any choice, they wouldn't have done that. Andor is a continuation of a guy who's not white. I'm trying to think if there was somebody white that was any good. No, the white guy is the snitch guy. There's a bad white guy.
Is
Okay.
that Andy, what's his face? Oh my god, I'm blanking on his last name. Gollum. Andy
He was in jail. I don't think he was a good guy. Yeah, Andy Serkis.
Serkis.
Yeah,
thank
he
you.
ended up being.
I guess maybe he was
kind of a good guy,
All
yeah.
right.
I started that
Maybe.
show. I could not get through the
It's,
first episode.
I'll
It
tell you
is
what.
definitely slow.
It's very, very slow. If you let me have Andor and you asked me to edit it, I think there was a way to, or even somebody more savvy than me at editing, there was a way to squeeze out a show out of that thing that was somewhat decent. It is way too slow. There are moments that I liked about it. It is very, very slow. So we have that. Acolyte, obviously, no. I'm trying to think if there's even the evil white guy. I don't think there's anything really.
Well-
You'd have to have a white guy. The only white guy is Mog.
Is he
Mog.
the young guy that looks old and bald and he's been meditating for
Right,
a
he was a
decade?
bad
Oh,
guy.
yeah.
He was
Oh,
a bad
yeah,
guy,
there's-
and he
yeah, he
drinks
was-
the poison and kills
Yeah,
himself.
Yeah, that's not Mog. That's I don't remember his name.
Is
but
Mog?
yeah.
No, but that
Mog was the simping gay
right.
Padawan to the green
Right,
lady.
exactly. He okay, like I'm talking about white, straight, heroic male. Like, yeah, that guy. I don't think he qualifies for the kind of thing that we're talking about now.
Mm.
Nothing personal, but I just don't think he qualifies for it. So they didn't have out there. They had a bunch of LG, representation, all that stuff. but they didn't actually have a hero, a male, or anything like that. Ahsoka, The only person that was supposed to be, they had the actor that passed, Ray Stevenson.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
So
liked him.
he was actually the only
never
good
watched the
actor on
show.
this show. You could tell they gave him the crappiest script, and every
Yeah.
scene he was in, he tried to make it 500 times better than it was. And as heroic as his effort was, he couldn't save that show, even though I could tell that he was really trying. And he was basically also considered a bad guy. The reason why we like him is because he was the only good actor on the show, or he was the only one that didn't care. I don't think Rosario Dawson is a bad actress. I just think that she didn't know what they wanted from her. And I think in Ray Stevenson's case, he just didn't care what they wanted. He's like, he didn't get, like, have any interest in what they were saying. He just did things his own way and didn't care.
Sure. Which also
what a-
makes him kind of great.
What a wasted talent there with Ray Stevenson. My God.
Yeah.
I was actually just I was just watching an episode of Rome earlier today, and God, it's just so good. So good.
And you had the Mandalorian. I'm trying to think, white dude that's not bad in that thing. Not really. I mean, they don't even have like a bad, in some of these they don't even have a bad white guy. They just don't even have a white guy, and if there is one, it usually means he's bad. Yes, there was the fake Luke Skywalker that we saw, that they tried to course correct and make him not a jerk like in the Last Jedi, but that's not really something that's ongoing there. And by the time the third season of Mandalorian came along, even the guy who was not white was also, they made him an idiot. That's another thing. Even the guys that are diverse in all of these things, they're also, they always have to play like the second fiddle to the more diverse woman. You know what I'm saying? The hierarchy here, you just can look at every single show of theirs. They did it over and over again. And finally now this thing with the kids that they're like, no, now they got Star Wars right. Even people that have been criticizing, and they're like, this is the best Star Wars. This is the best they've done. Yeah, I mean, even here, the only white guy that was supposedly like a Jedi is not a real Jedi. He just got it like the broom boy. Like, that's how he became a Jedi. And at the end, he's just a white guy that's evil. You think maybe at the end he'll be a little good, like he'll turn around, and then it turns out that he's actually heroic. Nothing. He's a guy that seems at an early point. See, what would have been cool is you think at the end maybe he surprises you and he actually does have integrity and there's something cool about him. But instead he doesn't have any of those things. He's just an asshole. Sorry, Sean.
I'm sorry, Price. A bunch of cunty women have been put in charge of all of our favorite things, and they all make them terrible.
Oh, shots fired. Yes.
What are you talking about?
You're right. You're 100% right. There's
a bunch of bitter bitches
Yeah.
that never had a decent relationship.
Oh, most of them just bitter, childless cat ladies, who
and they
want something to call their own, and
can't stand the thought of a man being happy in any capacity of life. And they're like, I'm going to put a strong female in this role. And it's like, fuck off. Sorry, Bryce.
And then Book of Boba Fett, again, can't think of a white guy who was a good guy either. I can't think of anything there. So that didn't happen there. Yeah, like I said, and Boba Fett, who you could say is more diverse or whatever it is, even there, a bunch of like a more diverse woman comes and puts him in his place. There is no way. Like, they first of all don't like men in general, but if it's a white man, they like him even less, and that's how all of their stuff was. You know, when Kathleen Kennedy did that, the Force is female, people were like, you're so stupid that you think that t-shirt means something to her. No, it does mean something to her. That's it.
Absolutely.
She didn't just put that t-shirt on. She meant it. She meant exactly that. All of the stuff that you see until today is exactly what she said it was.
I believe it.
Yep.
And how, like, you really have to go out of your way to ruin Boba Fett. Like, he's the simplest character to write for. Like, he is silent. He barely has any dialogue. You just have people reacting to his presence and then killing themselves. Like, like, I'm still shocked because, like, they did that episode where he was like firing the rocket. He might have been dad bod Boba Fett, but he was still a badass in that Mandalorian episode, and it was like everything we ever wanted to see him do in live action that he had done in the comics for like decades and books. And then It's like him and Luke Skywalker, like the only two figures that Hasbro can sell in various forms. They went out of their way to ruin.
Yeah.
They're like, we need to tank these toy sales because they're doing far too well.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, we have our friend Nick that sometimes he used to tell me, "Oh, I can pick and choose with what I like and don't like of Star Wars." But at this point, it's hard to pick and choose. I mean, oh, and Obi-Wan, another one. Sorry,
Oh,
just last one. Obi-Wan Kenobi was a show that basically it was like with the Han Solo situation. They had a white guy and they couldn't get rid of him, so they surrounded him by other people that were better than him and diverse, and they made him like a miserable bum like Luke Skywalker. Basically, every person that's a legacy character, now he's a bum and more diverse, sunning and brave people around him, and he's not as heroic as he thought he is.
yeah. And it's a bitter bitch mentality. Like, oh, this thing was good and I'm miserable about my life, so I gotta tear it down for everyone else. It is actually very easy to choose. You can choose the expanded universe of books pre-Disney
There you go.
and comics and games, or you could choose to indulge in Disney's horseshit. Sorry, Professor.
No, that's all right. I agree with you. The extended universe of books was so much, even its weakest, even some of the crummiest stuff that they made for the EU was so much
Oh.
better than what they're making today. Someone mentioned earlier, they said, oh, didn't you like this show when it started? Didn't you when they started with making Skeleton Crew? And I was like, honestly,
I did not.
it's okay. Here's the thing. If I say I can kind of enjoy it, there is some fun to be had in it. That is a significant step up from what we've gotten from Disney before. Let's take a step back. Let's see. Previously, what did we get? We had we had Ahsoka. That's like a 2 out of 10 at best. That's being generous. We had the Acolyte, which is like a -5 out of 10. that is punishment. That is against the Geneva Convention in some countries.
I'm still shocked that it ever came out.
It's appalling. It's badly made. It's badly acted. It's badly written. It's badly shot. Even some of the special effects in it are terrible. It's crap. And then we have, other things. There's been some other shows, like the first couple seasons of The Mandalorian in general were pretty good.
They're still rough. They're still rough by decency standards.
Yeah, there's still some stuff here and there that's.
I think that the first season probably was better than the second one. The second one only gets saved because they introduced Luke at the end, and that was kind of a nice thing for fans to see. It almost felt like maybe there was a bit of goodwill there, but really, that first season of Mandalorian probably was the peak of what we got out of Disney until today.
I need to go back and watch it, but I feel like there were still a lot of fucking filler episodes. Sorry, Bryce. like they can't do a show without freaking filler episodes.
Yeah, the second season actually had a lot. I felt like it had a lot of filler, strange
had a lot of filler
things. Where it's like, you're going to do a whole episode on that? Really? Like,
there was something with where I knew that the show was in trouble. There was an episode and some weird creature had eggs that she wanted to get pregnant or something.
Yeah, and then the little baby Yoda keeps eating them.
That could have worked. You know what I hated was
or something.
What I hated was the stupid calamari and a fucking reindeer sweater. Does anyone remember that?
Oh,
he was wearing like a TJ Maxx sweater, and I was like, "This show is in trouble."
Yeah,
in the third season we got an Aquelish, was it, and the octopus guy that they're like making out with each other.
That third season
Quarren.
was just awful.
Quarren, what it was. Quarren.
but what I want to say is that the first season we didn't know the Disney Plus MO yet because it was the first series on Disney Plus. I think that when we look at it today, we'd already be able to recognize that it's the volume, in the sense that they're just hanging out at a location for 30 minutes, not really getting much done. Then you move to the next location. Maybe because there were no other series like this and it was just one, you kind of accepted it, that it's kind of every week he's somewhere else, and you kind of let it slide as sort of a throwback to maybe an older type of serial show or whatever it is. But once all of the shows on Disney Plus came out and they're exactly the same template, it sort of got old. So I think if we saw The Mandalorian season 1 now, also knowing how it went off a cliff, you can't be as excited. I mean, really, that's also a problem with the sequel trilogy, which I don't think that the first movie was that great, like The Force Awakens. But if, let's say, the two episodes that followed The Force Awakens were really built up into something spectacular, you can say, well, it was kind of a rough start, but then it really found its footing. But it's the opposite of found its footing. If the first episode, was not perfect to begin with, not amazing, the second one, like in The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, are so bad that they invalidate anything that was even potentially, like Finn. Finn was an interesting storyline. I would have wanted
That
to
would
see
have
what
been
happens.
amazing.
Right. I was interested in seeing what happens to the Finn character. I like the idea of a stormtrooper defecting. I thought that I wanted to see more of that. They completely turned him into a joke. And then once they do, then what's the point even watching the thing? Rey is just annoying. There's nothing that happens with her. She has no arc. No, she does nothing. It's just stupid. Finn also is a joke. Poe, they never really fully developed that character anyways. So at the end of the day, you don't really care. If I put on The Force Awakens now, there's nothing to see there. It's just we know what happens. It's shit. Sorry, Sean.
Yeah. No, like Finn, I was thinking about him the other day, like just in the context of like you take a character that's bred from birth to murder indiscriminately and then try to make him have a moral compass. It's like that fucking writes itself. Sorry, Professor. Like like you could rule the world with a character like that. Like
I feel
he's
like
coming to
Tom.
grip with humanity.
I feel like Tom Connors from Midnight's Edge is trying to join us, but
Yes.
maybe he's having technical difficulties.
This OBS camera don't want to work.
Yeah.
I see.
Also, with like the sorry,
What a cameo appearance! Like that was like the best cameo ever.
You can
Hey, I figured it out.
There we go. We got it working.
Finally.
Also, with the volume, I feel like we crap on it a lot, but I feel like the filmmakers don't use it in the right context. Like all it has to be is an effing background. Make your characters shoot at each other once in a while, or run around, or do fight scenes. Like you could make it fine and worthwhile and cool to see, but like it's like, oh, now we're on a planet and it doesn't feel real, and they're just talking because we don't want to make an effort, and we have to stretch this out to like 8 to 10 episodes or whatever. It's so frustrating, man.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, it is.
It's all they can manage these days. Is to have something just with a ton of filler in it. This latest series has been such a mess. The first couple of episodes have a lot of establishing stuff in it, but it's not all that interesting, and it moves pretty slow. You then jump into a handful of episodes, most of which you only really need the last few minutes of the episode really to establish like what happened. And then you move on these last couple of episodes. There's lots happening in the last couple of episodes. Not that I love all of it. It is a lot of it just filled with tropes and a whole bunch of member berries. So you're just, oh, look. Yeah. Yeah. That's how the things happen. That's the usual thing.
I can't tell you like how, like even now I watched that first episode of the Skeleton Crew. It was an effing nightmare. I never wanted to watch. Well, I didn't want to watch more, but I still kind of wanted to, but I still didn't. But like the fact that Jude Law is in Star Wars, I'm like, that sounds like it could be really interesting. If
He
he's
really
given...
tried his best. I'm telling you that
I'm so disappointed.
the best moments of this series are basically Jude Law doing some good acting.
Yep.
That's the best moments here. You could tell that there was something that could have been done here, but
Mhm.
the way they just stretched it out into 8 episodes, with 6 of them being filler and the last 2 being a foundation for maybe a proper third act of a movie if executed better. The only thing I would keep is basically Jude Law as an actor, build the
Mhm.
character better, and probably I would get rid of everybody else.
We'll also keep the Wolfman character because after George did him dirty in the special editions, I'm like, fuck yeah, Lack Sivrak is back, man.
Oh gosh.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Price.
this time he's called Brutus.
Well,
Yeah, no,
whatever.
but you know,
He was like the one thing I liked in that first episode was him
Yeah,
coming
no, I
on,
kind of
and I
like
was
that
like,
creature too.
yes.
I agree with you. I kind of liked him too. So yeah, I mean, there was something here. There was something here, but they didn't do it well enough. But Star Wars Theory, I looked at this and it just got me thinking. Skeleton Crew reaches the lowest watch ratings in Star Wars show history, and not because it's bad, I like it, but because The Acolyte pissed off even more people than The Last Jedi, and now more core fans have checked out. Unfortunate. The thing is, though, I don't think that it's just The Last Jedi and The Acolyte. I think that The Last Jedi was the initial blow that got rid of maybe or caused pissed off half the fan base, half your clientele, and probably the better part of your clientele. The people that were willing to buy action, to buy DVDs, and each time this box set
Dude,
and that box set and T-shirts. I have like a ton of Star Wars T-shirts.
that is fucking me. Like my
Right. I mean, you
wall.
have. Listen, I'm not even a big fish in the pond. I compared to people like you and Ro and a few other people, friends that I have. I'm like a small fish in the pond. And even I have merch. Like over the years, I buy a lot of stuff. I have a lot of cool stuff that I bought over the years. We were the VIP. We were the high rollers. Once The Last Jedi came out, it was a middle finger to all of the high rollers. And then everything that came out afterwards, instead of being a course correction, was more crap and more of the same middle finger. With the
Yep.
kind of activism that went on with Lucasfilm, with all the worst decisions, and they thought to themselves that if the press were in their corner and continued to help them spin all these failures as either successes or that people are just istophobes and don't like diversity, they thought they could get away with it. And no, I think that at this point the jig is up. There's nothing anymore. There's nothing anymore anybody could say anymore. And it's
No.
not. I mean, I respect Star Wars Theory, but it's not just The Last Jedi and The Acolyte. The Acolyte, for me, I know a lot of people saw this, and maybe for some shills that hung on for all these years, that was the thing that said, "Okay, I'm jumping off." But really, most people that really liked Star Wars didn't need The Acolyte to know that this thing was crap at this point.
Yeah,
The
what's that?
Acolyte was just a good laugh that everybody had. It was at that point, I don't think anybody was really expecting it to be good.
Who's that douche that was like, I spent years being a fan? I was like, F you, dude.
Christian Harloff, I think it was.
Yeah,
Who was it?
scumbag.
That was his
Christian
name?
Harloff, I
Christian
think.
Harloff, I think it was
Oh,
from
yeah,
Collider.
that miserable. Never mind.
so and so.
Yeah, sorry, Sean.
So and so harsh language.
So, so in any case, what I was trying to say is that I really think that it's not The Acolyte in this, and it's fine if he likes the Skeleton Crew. I have a few friends that like it, and I respect them, and I'm not going to be mad at them if they enjoy it. If they can find something here that they enjoy, I'm totally cool with that. But I think that this Skeleton Crew, which is not as bad as Boba Fett, not as bad as Obi-Wan, not as bad as Ahsoka, and not as bad as Mandalorian Season 3, not as bad as The Acolyte, it's still bad. And really the last 2 episodes show like a foundation of something that could have been, but even that doesn't really work.
Okay, just for my own sake, and if anyone else needs to hear it, lately I've been reading the Star Wars Galaxy of Fear books. They're like the Star Wars Goosebumps of that universe.
Yeah.
It's really made me happy, and I'm trying to fall back in love with all the stuff that I used to love. So, like, reading old Star Wars books has done me a lot of good, and you don't have to accept Disney as the end all. Just because you buy something doesn't mean that you own it. So
Yeah. Do not accept their version of the heir to the empire that they're going to try and sell you.
exactly,
It's going to be utter garbage.
trash.
Go back and read the Timothy Zahn novels, and you will discover something. If you have not read these books, you will discover something. Someone besides George Lucas understands the characters from the original films.
Well, that's
He
what made Star
understands.
Wars.
Didn't
Sorry, go
they
ahead.
screw over Timothy Zahn though? I vaguely remember them.
He's gotten some payments from them
He's
because
fine
they've.
now.
Yeah, I mean he's good, but they did they kind of said like, well, here's sort of a payment so we can use the Thrawn character,
Yeah,
and then they let him make some Thrawn novels that are technically canon now,
yeah.
and they expanded on the history of the character of Thrawn, which I read a couple of them, and then I kind of fell off. I got bored.
He at
So
least was able to work his way into controlling his character.
yes,
Um, people like Alan Dean Foster have not fared as well dealing with Disney.
no,
Yeah.
no. But it's kind of funny actually if you learn anything about Zahn and why he decided to start writing that original trilogy that really launched the expanded universe for Star Wars with that trilogy of books. We've actually talked about it on here, Price. You mentioned that you would record TV shows or movies. You would record them on a tape recorder and listen to them.
That is very true.
I used to do that with some stuff.
I did too. But Timothy Zahn recorded the Star Wars films on cassette and listened to them in the car on road trips with his
Oh.
kids.
Nice.
And so when he was writing those books, he was thinking about the characters and how they sounded, the speech patterns that they had, the words that they would use, the
Oh.
way their personality played out in the way that they interacted with each other in their conversations. And so when you read those three books, like you can feel how much he really understands the dynamic of all of those characters and how they fit together and work together. Even though in a lot of the books they actually get split up for a while. You have
Mhm.
Han is over here and Luke is over there and Leia's over here. But when they're together and when they're, when they are exploring the world together, when they're interacting with each other, it feels like Star Wars. And the other characters that he introduces feel like they came out of that lived, shared universe of the original Star Wars films. And this was before the prequels. And so, really, to me, those are the real sequels to that original trilogy of films because they're so well written. They had George's blessing, and they tell a really great story that involves the original characters, Han, Luke, Leia, and Lando, as well as the droids and some of the other players that we saw like Admiral Akbar and so on. They're all part of this story. They're all trying to help build a new republic and a better future for everyone. And it's such a great story. And in fact, I have the audiobooks. I've been meaning to go back and listen to the audiobooks again
And
because they really are very good.
as a side note, if you look at the Last Command comic book, that
Mhm.
artist Edvin Bjakovic, I feel like he nailed the Star Wars art style.
Oh, I don't
Like,
think I ever
so
saw
hardcore.
the comic adaptations for
Oh
those.
yeah, you should look at them.
S-
The
Speaking of,
second one is a little weird because it's a little more realistic, but like
Yeah.
one of my favorite artists of all time, Olivier. I am blanking on his last name. I'm tired. He did Heir to the Empire, and then they did Dark Force Rising, and it's like more realistic. And then they did Last Command. The Heir to the Empire. I prayed for years that they would do an animated cartoon show with that art style, but the Edvin Bjakovic art style for Last Command, when they're going to Mount Tanis, like he pulls out like shots that I'm like, I don't even know how you think of the shots that he came up with, even from the descriptions in the book. Like, I don't know. I feel like it hints at like Return of the Jedi so sweetly, and then pushes the story forward. Sorry, go ahead, Bryce.
No, first of all, I wanted to ask you a question about comics in a second, but I wanted to first of all highlight that Maddie is here, and he said I did that too. I'm learning that I said, hey, I used to record shows and then listen to them in movies and record them on a audio cassette and listen to them on a Walkman, and I thought that was
Yeah.
crazy. And so many other people have since said, yeah, we used to do that too. It seems strange, but at the time there was no YouTube, there was no nothing. If you
Mhm.
wanted to capture the feeling of a movie. I already didn't need the images anymore for like a Star Wars or Back to the Future. If I had that on cassette, I would just press play. I'm imagining it in my mind. I already know exactly what's happening. I've seen the movie. So, yeah, I used to like that kind of stuff.
Dude, I
And
used to record clips from Return of the Jedi, and my brother thought I was a freaking weirdo because I knew what Jabba was saying in Huttese. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah.
what was I going to say? Before I
I'm sorry, I
forget.
didn't mean to derail your train of
No.
thought.
I was looking at something at the same time. You didn't derail it. But with the Diamond bankruptcy, you now have a comic. How do you distribute your comic? It's independent. I know you do it.
We have a comic shop, and they are my benefactors, and I tell people on your very successful YouTube channel to please go buy it from them.
Well, first of all, the fact that it's a family-owned comic book shop, right? And it's in Florida
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
yeah, Winter Garden, Florida. It's Crumbs World Comics and Collectibles, and it's my dad and stepmom. They own it. And then they were like, "We want to publish issues because if it doesn't happen now, it's never going to happen. You old man." So,
Well,
so
it's
we
nice that you got, your parents encouraged you to do that.
yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can find this. Yeah, okay. Are you in shop? Yeah, here I found you. So I'm going to now share it with people. This is Sean's comics. Oh, Professor R2 already did it in Rumble. I did it on YouTube. Hopefully you'll get it. So you should check out his comic. Also, I haven't said that. If you're watching this show through an app, if you're, let's say, watching on the Rumble app, which I know a lot of people do, I know that a lot of people use the app. They have it on the TV or whatever it is, and we're obviously grateful for anybody who watches the show and hangs out and listens to us, even if they're doing it kind of in the background. But if you want, you could also sign up for Rumble. It's free. There's also a tier where you can also get more benefits and pay for like a premium account, but you can also do it for free. And if you can do that, you can also follow us and you can get notifications when we're streaming and doing things. And I highly recommend it because Rumble is a good platform.
Whoa, my goodness. Okay. Price.
Yes.
The Big Ship, a member over on YouTube, has gifted 20 Price of Reason Live memberships to our audience.
Wow. The Big Ship, that's very nice of you. Thank you so much. That's really unexpected. I was totally not expecting this.
Yeah, thank you, The Big Ship. That's incredibly generous.
No, I think that's like the nicest thing anybody's ever done on this channel. So thank you. I know some people have like clapping and things like that, but I don't. So I'll just give you like a spiritual like
A spiritual high five. You
Is it
need
not coming
you
through?
need more puppets, Price.
a spiritual high five. But I do really appreciate it. It's super nice. Thank you for checking out for looking at that, Professor. Make sure I don't miss any kind of chats or rumbles, rants or whatever it is. It's so easy to kind of sometimes that happens.
I try to keep an eye on it.
Was that a clapping?
Did it work now?
Yeah, we got it.
Thank you, The Big Ship. That was
Tom's
super
handling the sound
nice of
effects.
you. I'm so Matt Cat asked, "What's the name of your comic book?" It's called Smacked in the Head. Um,
And
in case
that
you
sounds
didn't know,
embarrassing. It's just like when I was coming up with a name, it was like, oh, everything is like star something or solar something. It's like, oh, let's just do something ridiculous and maybe it'll stand out a bit.
so Maddie, you're looking for comics by Sean Crummell. If you look there and you see Sean Crummell, that'll be his, and it's called Smacked in the Head. And you should definitely, anybody listening, you should check out. He also he can do kind of custom variant covers and things like that. And what I always like about Sean is that he doesn't do any crowdsourcing. He doesn't do anything like that. He had his comic and he did it, and I kind of like that. I like that. I'm not judging anybody if you do the crowdsourcing. It's fine. That's the way to go these days. But I do appreciate that he's just like, here's my comic, you can buy it, and I think
I,
that's cool.
I was never gonna get attention from anyone.
Well,
Like,
I mean,
it's
with
like
your
I'm a
you
nice guy. I try to be nice to everyone else. I buy their comics, and it's like I'm as much as I try to make friends online, I never make friends online. So we might as well do it and just put it out
First
there.
of all, that's not true. You do have friends online,
Well, yeah,
but
you guys are
I
cool.
know you and your attitude, the way you are. You're kind of laid back, and you're not the type of guy to bother people. Oh, go contribute here and contribute there.
Who
It's
are
fine.
you?
Some people are good at that, and I respect that as well.
I'm kidding.
You're not that kind of guy. You're more of an artist, and you're just like, this is my comic. Here you go. You can buy it. I respect that attitude. I really do. I really respect it. I hope more people see what you've done, because I love that you believe in yourself and in your work, and you don't want to bother other people, and you're so focused just on your art, and I think that's super cool. I really do.
I just since like 1995, I took a walk around the block, and I was like, oh, I'd kind of like to make a science fiction universe myself one day. And it has just been in my brain. I'm now 43 years old.
We're
And I'm
looking
like,
at your chats there,
it's
Bryce.
it's never ended. Oh yeah, we're looking at your chats.
Yeah.
Don't share stuff. Close it, Bryce.
Oh, sorry. What was in there?
Hey, there you go. I don't know.
Adam was inviting you
talking
to
to
come
some
on
guy, yeah.
B-roll. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
okay.
Yeah, B-roll said, hey,
Yeah.
maybe I can join your panel.
Send him a dick pic. Let's see it.
No, I suddenly got a DM from him, and he said, hey, maybe in the future I can be a
We'll
guest. And I
finally
said,
know for
cool.
sure if you're black or not.
And I wrote cool. It wasn't a big secret, but yeah, that was actually a DM. And
So there's
Send
a
a
different-
terribly drawn dick pic.
there's a different I don't see a dick pic in here. Did you draw a dick pic somewhere in here?
I
Sean?
didn't. I would
Oh,
actually send Adam
no.
Gray an invite now, but I'm not sure how many people. Do you think that there would be another room for another participant?
We can squeeze in.
Let's try it.
Unfortunately, my cover is not like the Little Mermaid cover back in the 80s. So
I hope no. Were there any other naughty messages, or it's just me
No,
and
no.
B-roll talking?
I just looked up and I was looking at the chat and I looked up and I'm like,
I love
oh,
how he asks.
Bryce
Like,
is scrolling his
do you have
ex.
a bunch of naughty messages in your ex there, buddy?
I'm like the Neil Gaiman of Twitter.
Come check out my tub.
I have
butter.
to say, I love that picture of the tub. I love the picture of the tub. I don't know why. That tub is crazy. I don't know how I got here.
Oh, I just closed my shared.
That's what I keep saying.
You were sharing. Okay,
I was
okay.
shared. I just
is
closed
this
my shared window.
philosophical? I don't know how I got here.
I don't know.
All
I feel
right.
like there's a lot of books written on that subject.
So basically, the diamond comic thing. Since I wanted to ask your opinion
How
on
did we
this.
get here?
This is not my
Days go
house.
by.
These are not my beautiful comics.
This is not my stream.
Did Diamond go out
so-
of business? I've been working so much, man.
And then let's see right now. Let's see if
They
I can share
declared
this.
bankruptcy. I did not know that.
Yeah, that was big news today.
Right. That's what I wanted to ask you about. What you
Well, I
thought
was up
about
at
it,
like
because
7 a.m., so I don't know.
you're the comic guy.
I'm not a comic guy. I just like comics.
Oh, for some reason I can't share it. I don't know what happened. Why am I not able to share it?
Mm.
Well, they were a monopoly for like years. It kind of serves them right in some ways.
I don't know why it's not sharing. Oh, Professor, are you able to share it?
I can pull up a page, a story here, real quick.
Well, give it a try.
And then
And
COVID,
Adam, I sent you an invitation.
COVID definitely didn't help because all of the companies saw that as like a means of escape. That's why like Penguin Books started putting stuff out. I think for Marvel.
Yeah. So Diamond Comics filed for bankruptcy earlier today. Chapter 11. It says here the petition for bankruptcy seeks the United States Bankruptcy Court for the District of Maryland to facilitate restructuring of the business. So that's when you're talking about Chapter 11. It's not just, hey, we're shutting down and walking away. Chapter 11 is we need some sort of bankruptcy protections that are going to allow us to restructure our business so that we are able to continue operations. They're in a bad place, so it says received a $39 million bid from an affiliate of Universal Distribution for the Alliance of Game Distributors. Currently, Diamond is still owned by the Geppy family enterprises, who also own Alliance Game Distributors, Diamond Book Distributors, Diamond UK, Diamond Select Toys, Gemstone Publishing, E. Gerber Products, Diamond International Galleries, Hakes Americana and Collectibles, Baltimore Magazine, and its own branded entertainment museum. So, yeah, this is going to impact a lot more than comic books later on. This was a big deal. A lot of people were talking about what this is going to mean for different comic book stores and so on, about how they're going to be able to receive and distribute their comics from a lot of different publishers. So
it definitely explains why my Johnny Quest comics have been coming out or having distribution issues, and Flash Gordon also.
Yeah. So that Universal, I had read something earlier about how that was a big deal. That it said the company that Universal Distribution for the Alliance Game Distributors, that was a big deal. That company was stepping in to help restructure, but I wasn't really sure what it meant. I'm not a huge comic books guy, so I haven't I don't really know a lot about the back end of the business and the different distributors and stuff. So,
Well, I know that I think I heard a long time ago that there were like two different distributors. There was Diamond, and then there was another one, and then they basically like ran them out of business. So then they had like a monopoly on the industry for like a few decades.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's never good. I forget what the other company was called, actually.
How do you think that this is going to have an impact? I mean, what is the bottom line impact of the shutting down of something like this?
Well, books being sent out will definitely be interrupted.
But the big comic book, the big brands don't work with them anyways anymore, right? I think Marvel and DC don't really work with them anymore.
They've been, at least in like the last 5 years, I guess. I've definitely seen things where it looked like they were trying to get out of their dealings with them and go to other publishers. Like I that's why I said like I think Marvel is working with Penguin Comics, even though they're not really always equipped to be able to work with comic books because they're mostly a book business. But like, yeah, I feel like because it was a monopoly, a lot of them were like during COVID, they were like quick to flee or get out of their contracts with them. So ever since then, I think they've been on a slow slide into decline.
Well, sometimes things change, and I guess today there's a lot of ways to do kind of direct to consumer. That's why there's other ways. Even you, Sean, you have your comic. Yes, you didn't crowdfund for it. You made your own comic, and it's at a store. But if somebody wants to get it, they go online and they buy it.
Well, that's like the old school way of doing it. Like the TMNT guys, they went to comic shops like on foot. They not beat the pavement. They pound the pavement and got their comic in the shops, which is what I should be doing more of if I could get a freaking day off. But yeah, like that's the old school way of doing it. But in this modern world, if people found even more ways of getting it out there, yeah, like Diamond is a thing of the past, really.
Yeah, it
in
looks
my
like
opinion.
it looks like Marvel ditched Diamond in 2021, moving their
Yeah.
distribution over to Penguin Random House.
Yeah.
Who's doing the publishing for them?
And DC.
DC pulled out of Diamond in 2020.
They're so big that
yeah.
I don't think they'll struggle to find a distributor, but like maybe some of the smaller companies will have to do some legwork.
But before I forget, I started saying, I don't know why I somehow we started talking about something else, that
Sorry.
if you're on Rumble and you have you're watching through an app, you should sign up, and if you can, follow this channel, do some likes, also follow Sean Crummell, the real Sean Crummell. Sean, what platforms are you on right now in addition to the comics? You're on
Right.
X and you're on YouTube, I think.
I am. I just haven't had any time to do new YouTube stuff. I'm gonna
Well,
try and get
even
back
for
to
your old,
drawing videos.
you have cool drawing videos, and if people want, it's the real Sean Crummell on YouTube. You should check it out. Then you
Old
have
school
Professor
comic
R2.
reviews.
Professor R2 is on X. He also has an account on Rumble and on YouTube, and you should check that out. And whatever platform, even if it's outside of Rumble, even though Rumble is kind of like our headquarters for this show, even if you're outside of Rumble watching somewhere else, you can subscribe to that platform as well, of course, wherever you're at. And yeah, just wanted to let people know that, because sometimes I think people watch and they don't, they're not, they don't. First of all, I appreciate that they watch, even if they don't do anything, but it always helps if somebody does do stuff. So we always appreciate that. Oh, and finally, of course, Tom Connors for Midnight's Edge After Dark.
I am here, I think.
Yeah, no, right.
very
No, I
quiet.
think you're here. So you were so quiet, but
I came in at like a weird time. I don't know shit
Sorry.
about Diamond.
That's okay. Marla Sharondoff says that she's on all social media, so you should follow her. Marla Sharondoff is great.
All the social medias.
You know,
Are you on the Lemonates yet?
I just heard about that.
Yeah.
On the what?
Okay, Lemonade.
It's
What's
supposed
Lemonade?
to be like the next thing after TikTok.
Lemonade is just TikTok repackaged by the same people. And they have a tool that you can import all your stuff off of TikTok, so that if TikTok gets banned, there's basically TikTok. It's just called Lemonade.
But we're totally not controlled by the Chinese government.
But wait a
So we
second.
swear.
It's owned by the same company.
But what'll happen to all the subscribers? I mean, the big deal is if you've been on TikTok for years and you have like 1 million followers, what happens to them? How can you suddenly have them all on Lemonade?
I don't know. I don't know if you can take that with you, but they've been making a big deal about Lemonade and how you can move to that if you're going to lose if your life is going to fall apart because you do not have TikTok when it gets banned.
Sean,
then you can move to Lemonade.
Yeah,
I assume that he's talking about YouTube because I know you have more on X and whatever. But Maddie is saying that he became your 777 subscriber, so
Hey,
that's
that's
good luck.
cool. Nice.
Yeah, nice. See,
I'm not. I'm
things
more
are
of a-
happening, Sean.
I'm more a fan of even numbers, but that's always cool.
But you know what I noticed is I suddenly looked today and it turned out that I have an account on Threads. I've had it from I guess the day they opened Threads. Never posted anything there, but I don't know. Just out of curiosity, I went to look. I guess some people post there. It's not as bad as I thought it would be, but really, it also wasn't spectacular. You have that. Blue Sky is just a weird place. I think that at some point I just got the profile just to have it there, but I don't post anything there either. Both of those accounts are pretty much empty.
Threads keeps coming across to me like an even shorter version of like TikTok or Instagram, and I'm like, are we going for like the half-second attention span? I don't have any interest in this.
Yeah, people. Argentum says I loathe TikTok. Listen, it's
Yeah.
another platform that I believe I opened an account there. I don't know if I've ever posted. Maybe I posted one thing there. It's not. I don't love those places. TikTok feels like the center of stupidity.
Mhm.
I have never opened a TikTok account, and that app is not installed on any device in my home.
Mm-mm.
Will not use it.
I feel like I feel dumb just looking at TikTok. Like when I opened the
Mhm.
account and I was looking at what goes on there, it's just I could feel something dumb and I didn't like it.
I'm
But
not even all that crazy about Instagram. I'm like, eh.
no,
Yeah,
I don't really like that honestly. But you know what? I'm not hating on things. If people like these kind of things, it's cool. It's just
Sure.
that for me, Instagram, I never like the idea of, oh, there's pictures and you can talk about them. Never like that. TikTok is like, oh, these short videos of people dancing or whatever it is. Never really like that either. Facebook in
Mhm.
its early days I thought was interesting. Oh no.
Oh no. What?
Hello?
What?
you're there. We hear you.
Yeah, what?
We hear you.
Oh, he's gone.
Oh no, he's
Goodbye
disappeared.
forever. Oh, he's back
Uh,
again.
Oh, there he is. Yep.
He,
Lost
needs,
him.
he needs to add himself.
He's
There
he's
you go.
He's returned.
Can I-
Speak again, sir.
Price's spaceship crashed.
Am I back?
Hey, there you are.
There you are.
Now you're back.
Okay. So yeah, so I think that that I don't like TikTok with its thing. And I don't mind if people like this stuff. It's fine if you like different things. The only one that I used to use is Facebook back in the day when it was
Mhm.
new, but then that kind of annoyed me as well. So
Mhm.
really Twitter is the only one that I use as more of a social network, whereas Rumble and YouTube I actually post stuff on there.
I agree. We should all switch back to MySpace.
No, see, it's just
I liked MySpace.
Elon Musk just needs to buy TikTok, and then integrate it back into X and make Vine great again.
But I was reading that they're actually considering selling it to him. I don't know if this is true or not.
Who knows?
I assume anyone is willing to sell anything
Yes,
to Elon.
absolutely. Anyone is
This
willing to sell
point.
anything at any time to somebody who has more money than he can count. Yeah.
Yeah. That must be so nice.
So, oh, they want me
I
to
could
pay
just
for it?
write comics and draw comics all day long.
All these
Oh, yeah.
newspapers,
Wall
they want
Street Journal wants-
subscriptions
wants-
now,
wants
and I
you
don't
to
want to pay
pay,
for
yeah.
anybody.
Yeah. I
So I
dodged
guess-
most of that with having Apple News.
Hmm.
I mean, how much would he buy it for? Is it even worth it for him to buy? Why would he do this deal? Oh, Professor, you're gone.
He's
Yeah.
gone. There he is. Are we...
Yes.
So
You sound like my phone.
Oh.
What was that?
Yes.
China officials discuss option of TikTok sale to Elon Musk. I mean, how would that even work? Let's say he bought it. What would he do with it? I mean, what?
I mean, he would have another social network. I don't really know why he needs one. I mean,
I think this is. I don't even know if he's actually shown any interest in it. I think they
No.
want it out there just so
Yeah.
they know that this is their Hail Mary, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't get the point in having it.
I mean, it would probably be amusing if he got it, but really, what does he even need it for?
I don't know. I'm a little disturbed that the top from Inception is on your page right here when I just saw it like 3 hours ago on a thing on Instagram.
MySpace
It's
was
a
cool.
thing now.
You know what I liked about MySpace? That I could go kind of into the back end and then using code, kind of HTML, whatever it was, you could design the page any way you wanted and do all these kind of custom mods. And I knew enough to do it. So I do all these cool things to my page. And I don't know, it's such an innocent time. And you could put your music there. You could put like 5 tracks. I don't know. I mean, listen, I haven't really, I don't remember now 100% because I haven't used it in a long time, but I remember there was something kind of innocent and fun about it.
Yeah.
That's the early internet.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't social media like we have today where it's this constant feed of stuff being thrown at you. It was more or less you're kind of making a little personal homepage for yourself. It was almost more like a LinkedIn kind of thing where you've got a profile where here's my resume and all my stuff. But it was just you and your personality. It was just you kind
Yeah.
of being just kind of showing a little bit of yourself to everybody and having this page. And yes, you could kind of collect connections to other people and stuff like that, and you could give them your top 8 spaces or whatever. You do stuff like that, but it was much simpler, much more innocent. Today it's practically charming. It's like,
What happens if you go to MySpace today, by the way?
it is still there.
I think it was bought out.
Somebody who was it that bought MySpace?
To be
Why
honest
would anybody
with you,
want it, really?
It was
it's
somebody.
a name brand or whatever.
Wasn't it Justin Timberlake that bought it?
I don't know.
I
I really miss the early 2000s internet. Like, I miss web pages. I miss companies having web pages. I can't stand that all we do on the internet now is Google and Twitter and Facebook or whatever. I hate it. Like,
well, I can't stand to look at Facebook. It's awful. Anytime I have to poke around in
what is
in there, it's like Sean Cromwell.
That's far too many L's, sir. Oh, that's me. Oh my God, click it.
It's a restricted profile.
Oh yeah, you haven't updated it to make it compatible with the new version of MySpace now. What? So yeah, it looks like in 2005, MySpace was bought out by News Corp, and then it looks like Facebook was going to buy it, but then it ended up being bought by a specific media group, which was led by Justin Timberlake, I guess. And then they sold to Time Magazine in 2016, and then Time sold it to Meredith Corporation in 2018, and then they spun it off into its own original holding company, and then sold it off to the holding company. So it's wild.
This is like 25-year-old Sean Cromwell.
Yeah.
I couldn't grow a mustache.
I like it. It's a cool photo.
I was big into zombie movies back in the day.
Oh,
it's nice. There was something charming about MySpace. I really enjoyed those days. I thought it was cool, and it's a type of innocence that I think that these days we don't get anymore. That's why people look at it rather fondly. But Facebook really did come along and have more. It was more interactive. It just had a different vibe to it, and it was sort of the next step. And
MySpace Tom will always be my friend.
It's funny, yeah.
He made
a lot of money though, that guy, right?
I think so. If he was real, who knows?
I think he was real.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was that.
Tom Anderson, he was one of the founders. Yeah.
Now, Professor, how about that whole DEI, Ubisoft, Ubisoft. There was some weird thing going on today. Did you see anything?
What I did see some stuff about Ubisoft. You talk about there were some comments that were made about there were some leaked emails. I think is that what you're talking about?
Yes, a leaked email, exactly.
Yeah, so there were some leaked emails from them basically talking about some of the devs and talking about how many
Here,
of the
I found the
developers.
article. It's
Oh, okay,
John
great.
F. Trent. So thank goodness that these guys, him and John De La Rose on Fandom Pulse, they do
Yes,
a
Phantom
really
Pulse
good job.
is excellent. Yes,
Did he
I've
go
been.
to Phantom Pulse?
Yes,
Oh, I
yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah. He moved
So
over to
Fandom
Phantom
Pulse,
Pulse
shout out.
late last
Rumor
year.
vast majority of developers at Ubisoft are dead weight. They don't know how to do anything.
Yes.
And then a new rumor alleges that the vast majority of developers that weight, okay, pushing social change. This rumor comes from YouTuber Akolon TV, who detailed he received a number of alleged documents from an Ubisoft insider, who also informed about the current state of the company's employee and talent. He shared, so basically the way developers at Ubisoft is classed according to this insider is that you have the superstars. These are the best of the best, and they're incredibly good at what they do, and they're often also very well known. Now he says there's very few of these people left at Ubisoft. Most of them have
Yep.
already left and have found much better positions at companies that is a lot better positions within the market. Then there's what he refers to as the good developers, but they don't have brands, they don't tweet, and he calls himself one of these developers. They make up a small portion of those developers that are still left at Ubisoft. The problem is, while they're good, they don't have names, so they can't get jobs
Yeah.
anywhere
Yeah,
else.
they don't have a big name, and so they can't really uh yeah, they don't have a lot of social influence. They don't have a name that would help them to work somewhere else either. Yeah.
And then the vast majority of developers is what he calls dead weight. They don't know how to do anything no matter what you give them. They're pretty much always doing it wrong. But what they're very good at is social change, pushing social change. So basically, if you can't do the job that you were hired for, make sure that you become a political activist, is what I took from that. He didn't even talk about the DEI stuff with these guys, just apparently they make working for Ubisoft very, very, very difficult. The next thing that was revealed to me, and this is from both insiders, is actually just the nightmare of designing video games for Ubisoft. Gaming today, it's more like a factory line logistical nightmare than creativity, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think I get the main idea here.
Yeah. Essentially that there's just not a lot of particularly productive people left in their teams that are developing anything. They have just a handful of those superstars that are left around that just really know their work. They know how to do what they need to do. You give them, something to tackle and they can jump on it and then get it done. You have another percentage, a smaller percentage of people there who are capable and they can do their work. They're not particularly well known. They haven't been around in the industry for a very long time. They don't have a lot of social cachet as it would be in the business. And then you have a whole bunch that are just worthless. They are, as they put it, dead weight. The only thing they know how to do is to be an activist and to be an agitator. They don't actually know how to build a game. They don't know how to create inside of the engines that they need to use. They don't know how to produce solid work. The only thing they know how to do is that if someone criticizes them, that they get blown out of proportion and start, rampaging about how it's some sort of injustice. And so, yeah, you can see how a company like Ubisoft would lose over 85% of its value in the past 5 years if that's where they're left, right? It is wild.
But more importantly, what color is their skin?
Oh yeah, that's clearly the most important thing about them is
And what's going on
their
now
identity.
with Assassin's Creed Shadow? Isn't that being delayed again? What did they end up
So
doing
that's
with that?
been we mentioned that a bit the other day. That's been delayed again. It's been pushed back for another month and a half, I think.
Nothing's gonna
And
save them. That
so
thing is gonna come out, and they're gonna get clobbered
the
unless they remove that whole Yasuke thing and which they didn't. What are they trying to do?
yeah.
Are they trying to
So
minimize that, or
well,
are they
so the
doubling
the
down?
the word is, as far as we can tell, they have not taken Yasuke out of the game. He's still going to be the protagonist,
Is that
but
the black samurai
that's
that
the
may
black
or may not have
samurai
been
that
an actual samurai?
yeah, and also now they've made him gay as well. At
Oh,
least that's the
okay.
word.
Go the
Um,
extra mile.
so they've determined that a real person that they don't actually know was gay, they're just going to make him gay because that's totally okay.
What?
To do that. But they've got still have Yasuke as far as we can tell, but apparently some of the word from inside Ubisoft is that they are absolutely desperate to avoid having another uh, problematic release of their game like they did with Star Wars Outlaws. Now, there was a lot going against Star Wars Outlaws, but what really landed it in
Is the
everyone's
bugs?
pile of garbage was how buggy it was. It was a mess. And it's still a mess to this day. It is just not well put together, was not well made. And so they apparently are desperate to put as much time as they can into crushing the bugs, to polishing the game as much as possible. I don't think they understand that this game is already dead in the water. It doesn't matter how polished it is, but they're
Right.
desperate to make sure that they don't have the same kind of problems. Because I guess before they had said, that they've heard the complaints, right, of the hate tubers. And what they don't want to do is they don't want to put out a game that now that the hate tubers are going to grasp onto and point out all the problems that are wrong with the programming of the game and everything. So they want to make sure there is nothing left for the YouTubers to complain about.
Can I tell you how you do that? Make a good fucking game.
That's
Sorry, Bryce.
yeah.
Sorry,
That's
Tom.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry,
maybe
Tom.
Sorry, Tom.
but and
Why
you
the
know
fuck
how
are
you make a good
apologizing to
game.
me?
What'd you say? Tom?
R2 was talking.
Go ahead. What'd you say?
Why are you fucking apologizing to me?
All right.
This is our shtick.
That's what we do.
yeah.
Professor, go on.
Just apologize.
You are worthless, Eric Barry.
So I forgot what I was saying. So and how do you make a good game? Right? Yeah, that's you say, well, make a good game. Well, that probably starts by hiring talented developers who know how to work with the engine that you're using to develop with, and they know how to create art, they know how to create the sound effects and the music and everything, rather than hiring those people because they have this identity or they check that box or have that particular skin color, right? I think that maybe producing a really strong product probably starts with having the right people in place who can actually make that product.
As someone that went to school for art, this is like 1,000 times more infuriating as we're staring down the fucking cannon of AI that is just going to replace everyone and destroy all the jobs that we actually want to do and force us all to go do the jobs we don't want to do. It's like I don't know if that strikes anyone else as hilariously
They're going to
tragic.
implement all this AI stuff, Sean. They're going to implement all this AI stuff for this and that and whatever. And then they're going to start hearing all of these complaints from their customers about how every game looks the same. Every game sounds the same.
Yes, it's going to be a nightmare.
It's because guess what? You decided to eliminate creative professionals and replace them with machines that all they can do is regurgitate stuff that's already been made.
Yeah,
They're
it's going to
not
be
creatives.
It's gonna be multiplicity in like all of art. It's gonna be a copy of a copy of a
A copy
copy.
of
Hey,
a copy. Yep.
And
Steve.
then you're gonna end up with video games. It's like I like pizza, Steve.
I like Pizza Steve.
There's so much going on with AI
Says you
right
don't do
now.
stuff.
But
Oh,
eat a dolphin. I can't.
it-
I don't understand people. Like I constantly hear Jeff Goldblum in my head, where he's like, "Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should." And I'm like, that's the fucking
Mhm.
human race in a nutshell. Sorry,
Ye-
Professor.
No, that's where it is. That's all of this AI stuff. Everyone's just clamoring, thinking this is going to be the next thing that's just going to change it's going to mean they can make infinite amounts of money and without spending a thing. And they just do not see all of the massive limitations that AI has,
Hmm.
regardless of what model you're trying to use. You know what? If you're looking for a little clip, a short clip of a video or something, maybe you shot a movie and you've got a shot that just you need like 10 more frames to
Right.
make that
Mhm.
cut work. Sure, AI is gonna be able to do that for you, and it's gonna be able to do a pretty good job. We're gonna extend that shot just a few frames, or we're gonna change the angle of that just a little bit because it can handle those types of things, and it's gonna do a good job of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're gonna see some AI things that are gonna jump out that are gonna be kinda crazy, and, honestly, some of these I think are gonna be pretty cool. You're gonna be able to take maybe old television shows that were made in 4 by 3. You're gonna
Oh,
be able to
don't
take
tease Price.
you're gonna be
Right.
able to
That's what
take
I wanted. That's what I wanted to do with Quantum Leap. Like I
yeah,
wanted it to
you're gonna be
expand.
able to take AI,
Why?
and it's gonna be able to fill out the rest of that 16 by 9
Yeah.
picture
I
in a
wanted to
way that's
be
But it wasn't
convincing.
shot that way.
I know, but
maybe
I'm a
they're
maybe they
gonna
could
do
purist
it.
do
too.
it.
They're
I
gonna
don't
do
want
it.
it either.
Can they make it like 4K or 8K with widescreen and
You're
fill
gonna
it
get a
out?
bunch of wonky looking like demon people.
Yeah. You're gonna get
James Cameron people.
Oh yeah, yes. I was gonna say there was another example of this recently that was disastrous. But yeah, if you look at like the Aliens 4K release
Mhm.
that they made, my God, I'm so glad I didn't spend money on that.
But
Some of
it,
the screenshots that I've seen from that are appalling.
Tom probably
as
bought 7 copies of that.
I'm pretty sure Tom has one. Yeah,
Of
but
which
is
one?
Alien.
The Aliens 4K release that they did.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm so glad I decided not to buy that one. I don't know. There was something I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait on this one.
well, it's
Just-
Cameron.
yeah.
But as an artist, like it does have its benefits. Like it's like its own little concept artist studio. Like if I'm thinking like I want an alien for my story that's like made out of rock and has like spikes going this way, it looks kind of like this. I can type that prompt in and generate a bunch of ideas and I'll be like, yes, yes, yes. Now I can take those 3 images and redraw it into the thing that I really wanted to begin with. Like there are like real benefits to
Yeah,
it. But
absolutely.
then there are scumbags that are like, we wanted to draw like a person. And I'm like, how about you just die because you're just destroying the human race? Sorry, not to get
Yeah.
negative. Sorry, Price.
No. So yeah, as far as this whole thing with Ubisoft, like it's just a nonstop disaster. There's only one place that this ends. That is that this
Bankruptcy.
game, yeah, the game, the Assassin's Creed Shadows game is going to be a huge failure. And they are going to have to go into bankruptcy, or they're going to have to sell to somebody or whatever. I mean, Ubisoft is toast.
It's so crazy because like the PS2 days, like they were one of the top companies that I was like, these guys are like the best of the best with the Beyond Good and Evil game and
Oh yeah, they used to make some
God.
incredible titles.
Yeah, they used to be
They
so
really
good.
did. But yeah, there's only one place this ends, and it's not going to be pretty. they obviously there's, if you get into business and stuff, there's things like going concern. They can't just admit failure right now and just sell the company, right? They have to put the game out there to try and sell it. They're required to do it,
We'll have a
but
day
because
one
they have
patch.
shareholders and whatnot, but they know the people in the boardroom, the people running this company, they know this is done. They're trying to figure out their golden parachutes, and they're trying to make sure that they get theirs when this company goes under. I promise you.
That was like the one thing that I've never understood about this whole DEI diversity thing. It's like, are they not shitting themselves every time their stock tanks, or like they put out a terrible game that no one likes and they just watch like the Metacritic drop? Like, they have to be aware of reality on some level, even if they're buying into all this nonsense. Sorry, Professor.
No, that's all right. So actually, we have a super chat over on YouTube.
Nice.
From the Dead Man for
Ooh, the Dead Man.
$4.99. Thank you, the Dead Man. Also a member of the channel there, the Dead Man. He says, "What's the problem?"
Oh,
Well,
that's it.
yeah, there's a lot of problems. The Dead
I
Man.
think he's saying that because it has something to do. Maybe I'm wrong, but this reminds me of something that I was talking about with Michael Jackson and Thriller. I think I was on a stream with
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
and then what happened is that I said that Michael Jackson at the end of Thriller, he asks his girlfriend in the video. He goes, "What's the problem?"
Yeah.
And then everybody said, "No, he doesn't say that." And then I discovered that he
Yes, he
does say that.
does.
I went and I listened, and he does say it in the middle of the stream. I did it, and then when I said he says, "What's the problem?" people in the chat wrote, "Well, you didn't say what's the problem. You said what's the matter." So then I rewound it, and I actually said, "What's the problem?" Basically, I was right the whole time, and everybody was saying it was wrong, even though I was the only person that was right.
Welcome to
Mother
my world.
effers.
Right. So that's why I think Dead Man wrote "What's the problem?" because it's a kind of tip of the hat. By the way, has anybody seen his to Phobos? I tried also
Yes.
to send. He was here. I should have sent it sooner. I sent him an invite. I suddenly remembered that he asked me if at some point, he wanted to hang out for a bit, and I was gonna do that, but maybe he fell asleep. It is good.
It's late.
It is late. I probably should have done it sooner. So another time we'll definitely find for that. But in any case, just before we go, the final thing. This is a good story, but what I really wanted to say is that I still keep thinking of that bathtub that Tom showed me today. I don't know why that bathtub. It makes me laugh for some reason.
Did you
It
lose a
shouldn't make me
kidney, or
laugh,
what do
but it
you?
does. Do you know what I'm talking about?
You were the one who showed me, I think.
So
I love how you're trying to play this off like I showed you. You showed me, I believe, this bathtub.
He's like, I'm not taking responsibility.
I'm not taking responsibility.
This was the bathtub that Tom showed me. Oh, sorry, maybe it was me. I showed the bathtub. Okay,
You showed it, I believe.
so
You
basically,
took you knew this story better than I did. You came in and
I knew this
you're
story very well. So
Yeah.
basically, what happened is that
it's almost like freaky how
Neil Gaiman. I thought it was Gaiman, but everybody's like it's Gaiman.
Gaiman.
Neil
I don't
Gaiman. I don't even know what to go with. Let's say
George
Sean, is it
Lucas.
Neil Gaiman or Neil Gaiman?
I've heard Gaiman, but I feel like George Lucas would say it's regional.
All right, so
It's
Neil
a deep
Gaiman,
joke.
basically, he's been accused by he's been accused by some ladies of some kind of he served them
Drowning them
grape
in a
juice.
tub? Oh,
Some ladies are saying that Neil Gaiman served them grape juice.
well,
Yeah.
he has been on the outs for a number of years with his fans and stuff, but they're so finicky. Who knows what's real?
No, but the reason why I'm showing this bathtub is because I'm not trying. I take it's not that I'm not blaming the victim like Tom said earlier, and it's not that I don't take seriously. I understand that this Gaiman guy, the way it seems to me is that he acted in a really, if nothing else, like a huge jerk. He doesn't sound like a guy that I like from these stories,
No.
and it sounded like he did stuff that I don't think was cool. At the same time, this lady is telling a story that she was at his house babysitting his son, and then she was going to leave, and he said, "Listen, I have a tub in my yard. Why don't you take your clothes off, go in that tub? Don't worry about it. Go get in that tub." And instead of leaving, she looked. This is the picture of the tub she went to. And I said to myself, if somebody had a backyard and I looked and that's his backyard and he has that weird tub there, that is not something like, if you're a woman, I don't think you take your clothes off and go sit in this tub. Oh, what happened to Tom?
Yeah, I get you. It's
The tub talk was
hilarious.
too much for Tom.
That's it. Too much tub for Tom.
Go take your clothes off and get in the sex tub is basically what this tree is saying.
All this tub talk was just too much. Tom had to bail. I guess. I thought he'd pop back in, but that's it. That's all she wrote. I think
He's
he's
no more
done.
tub, he says. No more grape.
No more tub.
No more graping for the tub.
I will not
Yeah.
stand for this.
I'm not sure as a young woman if I would just be like, yeah, sure, just gonna go hop in this tub out here in the yard.
That's my question.
under
And
a
I actually
tree.
I regret that Vex Electronica, I sent her an invite, but she, I guess, has been sleeping these days. So hey, Tim
How
Hayes,
dare
how's
she?
it going? So basically, I was wondering, because I know Vex, and I know that, or just because she's like a woman with a real attitude, like I'm trying to imagine her at this guy's place working, and he's like, "Take off your clothes and get into that tub in my garden." And I can't imagine what would happen to Neil Gaiman if he said that to somebody like Vex Electronica.
Well,
He'd
this
get
is
like slapped in the face and he'd be smacked in the head, Sean.
Hey, this is
Plug.
daytime too. You know there's got to be some trippy lighting on it at night. Like he's like, "Go get my tub." It's just like, wow, doing one of these things.
Right. I mean, I think this was in broad daylight, but man, would I think that would be weird.
Yes,
And
of course. The setting is what makes it hilarious.
right. I mean,
Like,
very
it's
strange.
so like
Very strange.
I don't
so
know
over
why
the top.
nothing good is going to come out with his random tub in his garden. And then the fact that she's like, and then he took his clothes off and he entered the tub, and I was shocked. And
And
I'm
you're like,
like,
the judge is like
Shocked.
looking at this tree, and he's like, "Are
Shocked.
you serious?"
and then she's like, I was shocked that he actually took his clothes off and entered the tub. And I was confused, so I didn't know what to do. And again, I don't want to be mean here. You could get up and leave the tub, which you probably shouldn't have been in to begin with.
But then there's also people that would argue that, oh, it was overwhelming. I didn't know what to do. I was emotionally compromised. But yeah, in the end of the day, you're still an adult. You have a choice. You either, what is it, fight or flight.
No, right. And also what happens is that moving forward, this same lady seems to enter into some kind of, I don't know if to say it's a relationship, but it's an ongoing thing that she seems to be, based on her text and an interaction, she seems to be going along with this. Not, there's
Mhm.
positive text from her, things like that. Then only after like this very long period of time where all this stuff was going on, she retroactively was thinking about the experience she went through,
Mhm.
and she came to the conclusion that she was a victim. Now, the way
Yeah.
he acted, he really, exaggerated with all of his BDSM. He sounds like a guy that didn't really talk to the ladies about doing this kind of thing before he did it, and maybe he was taking these kind of consensual relationships initially that started sort of consensually and taking them in very strange or maybe even unwanted directions. I guess what I'm saying is I don't think he's a saint in this story. I think that
No.
he seems to have a problem, but I also think that, again, not blaming anybody, but I think that if you're willingly hanging out in a bathtub and doing stuff, I don't know.
The world has lost its mind. All I can picture is that, like, if you were a well-known writer, sorry, Michael Jackson. If you were a well-known writer in the 90s and you were constantly faced with girls that adored you, like that might go to your head. You might start messing around. It just seems like a natural progression of that lifestyle and the people involved on both sides. Like, and then we now find ourselves in this year where nobody is responsible for anything they do. So it's like, oh yeah, years ago this happened, and it's like, well, duh. Like, you both ended up in that place making these choices, but I don't know. I feel like that was so much better articulated in my head. It's just
Anyhow, the dead man, I tried to highlight his thing. The dead man says, "Yes, price of reason." That was the thriller quote. See, I get the dead man. I understand exactly what he meant. He saw my frustration that I got the quote right, but everybody was trying to make it seem like I was dumb. And only the dead man was in my corner.
it's just like you're a dumb 90s goth writer and you have a bathtub by a tree. Yes, I see this scenario happening. And I can totally see the like groupies being attracted to him and then later regretting it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a complicated situation, and I also
Yeah.
said this before on the stream with Tom and earlier in the evening, is that I feel like he's the type of guy that picks up when there's women that are sort of don't have money or in a bit of a pickle, and then he kind of steps in and really manipulates his way into this type of BDSM relationship with them, maybe doing things that are also not wanted by them. So
Mm,
I'm not saying that he gets out of this scot-free. I'm just saying that
yeah.
I'm just saying that these ladies at the same time, a few of them that were in this article at least, uh, they seemed like it's not like he was the only option they had, meaning there were other options
Mhm.
that they could have taken, but thinking it sounds terrible what I'm going to say, but perhaps thinking about the money and what they could benefit from him uh, caused them to go along with it,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
makes it a bit more complicated.
There was like a similar thing with I think Garth Ennis. I think he wrote Transmetropolitan. There was like a bunch of women that came out saying that he groomed them, but they were like all, as far as I heard, they were all adults, but he like had convinced them to send him like pictures of their butts and stuff. And it was like, you know what? At some point, you're responsible for your actions as an adult. But I don't know. It just seems like kind of the same thing. Like groupies later regretting choices that they made. Whether or not that's true, I don't know.
Adam Gray says, I don't want to victim blame, but she got in the tub instead of leaving. Yes, I mean, at the end of the day, there's also even in the article, she's like, oh, I was going to leave. And then he's like, oh, you should really, look at my bath out there. Look at it. And it's like, you could still leave. You don't have to take your clothes off and go in some weird bathtub and next to some tree outside. And
I feel like
I was saying before, it's not like a cool jacuzzi setup. You know what I'm saying?
no.
Even then, even if she would have been like naked in his jacuzzi, it's probably not a good direction to go if she's not interested in him. But this weird bathtub in the middle of the garden, that is weird. That is just odd. A
That
few people,
setting is very it's rife for comedy. It's like,
right. I
hey,
mean,
you want to go take a bath, and it's just like this godly, ridiculous looking setup, and it's like, oh, you want sex?
the big ship
Really
says.
yet.
The big ship said he strongly encouraged one chick to lick her poop.
Ew.
That is what she said. This is
Hmm.
really, very crazy and weird things there. I
Didn't know Neil Gaiman was German.
he is he if I take at least some of what's written there and say, okay, maybe he did this, it sounds bad. It sounds like he's into this kind of freaky BDSM. But like I said, he thinks that all the ladies are just automatically interested in this weird crap, and
Well,
I guess they weren't.
that's gotta be like ego from being a successful writer for a number of years.
Right, and they actually wrote in the article that he only started acting this way later on, meaning initially I sometimes say this. I sometimes say this when like the whole Me Too movement came out, and people were like, finally, like men, like after the whole Harvey, Weinstein situation, they're like, finally, men are going to learn their lessons.
Mhm.
And I would tell people, I don't really know what you're talking about. That guy had a net worth of $500 million, and he was considered one of the most powerful men in Hollywood and the entertainment industry. If he said he liked you and he wanted you to suddenly be in a movie for no apparent reason, you could suddenly go from waiting tables to making millions and millions of dollars a year. And when
Yeah.
somebody has that kind of power, that's where that kind of strange stuff goes in, like happens.
Mhm.
If it was Sean, okay? If Sean like suddenly walked up to a lady on the street now and said, "Listen, either you come
Lady.
to your you should really come to the hotel with me. Like, if you do, great things are going to happen to you." She'll probably just like kind of smile and keep walking. Maybe she likes Sean. Maybe it'll appeal to him. I mean, he's a married man, so I know he wouldn't do that. Maybe it'll appeal to him. But generally speaking, Sean's not coming with those kind of cards to the table. He's not saying, I got $500 million and I'm in charge of all like the most prestigious movies in Hollywood. Now come to my hotel. That's not where he's going with it. He doesn't have that kind of pull. You know what I mean? He has a
But I have a
Batman action
really
figure.
bitchin' action figure collection.
The best he can do is promise her a Batman action figure,
Hey.
and I have a feeling that that's not going to move the needle one way or another, Sean.
How dare you?
So basically what I'm saying is that most men in the world couldn't even do it, even if they, let's say, were terrible people and they were sick or whatever it is. They still couldn't do that. It wouldn't matter because you have to be in a very, very specific position to pull that off. So I think that in this situation, as well, it's a very, very specific kind of thing where this guy is rich, he's a known writer, he has women that on one hand, they want something from him and they can benefit from him, but the other hand, he kind of is weird and they don't really like him.
Mm-hmm.
And he takes advantage of this whole situation, manipulates them, and does all this crazy stuff. So I don't know. It's like people were saying throughout the day, it's hard to really read that whole long article and think, oh, I really like this person in the story. Oh, I really like this person. You kind of feel like you don't know who to like. You don't especially like any of them, really.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he kept saying he's a male feminist. I've been saying it here that usually when some guy comes out and he's a male feminist, that's usually a red flag. He proved it again, and he's been kind of sticking his nose up at the air with all this kind of woke stuff or whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, none of this is really surprising at the end, I guess.
Well, I feel like in like 2016, 17, he made comments about comic creators. I can't remember exactly. It's been so many years, but like to have the mob turn on him is like, well, you might deserve it, sir.
I sound a bit funny tonight. How so? I felt like Joe Pesci in that movie. Is it not my regular microphone, Professor?
No, you sound fine on this end. Sound fine.
How many
What's so
times?
funny? What's so fucking funny?
How many times have you said Utes?
Utes. What's so fucking funny? Am I funny to you?
Am I a clown to you?
My clown to you? My fucking clown?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's such a great scene.
Oh, such a good movie. Yes, it's a great scene.
It's a good movie and such a memorable scene. And I think that a lot of it had to do with like Joe Pesci sort of, it wasn't an entire ad lib, but I think that he really brought a lot of details into the story that he tells there that like, Martin Scorsese gave him a little leeway there to do his thing. And it's just such a fantastic scene.
Yeah, well, and Joe Pesci throughout the film, he sells this dude he's practically bipolar. He's like,
Oh yeah.
he's switching between just total rage and just like, yeah, no big deal, right? Just it's wild, and he sells it all the way through.
He sells it. It's such a good role. He's
I
so good in that role.
I still have it on my list to watch. My experience with that movie is the good feathers from Animaniacs.
Oh, Sean,
Yes.
come on, man. You never
You
watched
cooing with my
Goodfellas?
Boyd?
Wait, Sean, you never watched Goodfellas?
No. I've
How
seen
did you
clips.
watch The Godfather?
I had to work on all three of them. So I saw like large chunks of them.
Man, Sean, you're
should-
making me, you're really depressing.
Oh,
Like,
Sean.
man, Sean,
That's
The
fine.
Godfather.
I,
You
The
have to
first-
watch just watch the original Godfather and watch Goodfellas. Have you
Yeah.
seen Scarface?
I don't think I would like Scarface.
Oh,
I've only seen parts of it.
Oh, Sean.
Scarface is good. I don't enjoy it as much as those other two.
No, they're not as good. I think that
feel
like
like-
Godfather would be number 1, number 2 Goodfellas, and number 3 out of the 3 would be Scarface.
Yeah,
I
think-
still really like Scarface, but no, it's not as good as the other two.
and then you got to come back to Godfather 2, which is an excellent film.
I think out of all of them, I would enjoy Goodfellas the most.
Goodfellas is a great story. It moves. You're really
Mm.
like it's just moving along the whole time.
Oh, this is the
Yeah.
professor. You
Oh,
brought
what's
today.
that? What's that?
What's the problem?
That's the problem.
Good work.
Can I tell you, when I was like, I don't know what age kids potty train. When I was potty training, my dad had that music video on in the background. It was my biggest nightmare. Was that zombie music video? I had issues with zombies until I was like 14.
I don't know. I always I love that music video.
That's
That
great.
music video, when it came out, redefined what a music video is. It's like there's before Thriller and after Thriller.
It's like a short film.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because people don't have the context. Before, what happened is that early on in the MTV days, in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, first of all, initially people didn't even have MTV. It was like through cable and only some people got it. Gradually, more and more people were getting cable, so they got it. And what would happen is that they weren't thinking about it as an art form. They just needed some kind of video. You know, it was usually kind of either cheaply done or maybe done by the record label with some kind of budget to do something. But a lot of the time it was just something, you know, the band was standing in a room with like like pink jackets and neon and I don't want funny
Maybe
glamorous haircuts.
blue screens, maybe.
Right, sometimes blue screen, sometimes not even bothering with a blue screen. They're just standing in the one place that's like a room. You take different angles of them, or maybe sometimes I think in those days they had videos like they're on a trip somewhere. They're now they're on like they went to some town, you know what I mean, in France or something. And now they're on the beach, they're on a boat, they're on this, they're on that. Like you had either they went to like a different state or country that people usually don't go to, or that they don't go to, and took interesting footage there, or they're in a controlled environment where they just like set up something there and they're wearing funny clothes.
Yeah,
those usually what you got out of it. People weren't really thinking, I'm going to make a short film. And Michael Jackson said, no, I want this to be like, he saw the movie American Werewolf. Is it American Werewolf in London? What is it?
Yeah.
He saw that one and he's like, this is it. This is what I need a video that gives this kind of feeling. And I think
Landis.
I think he took John Landis to, you know, to direct it. And he was really serious about it. And initially the record label said, we don't want to pay for this. What is this? Because they didn't even understand what it meant. They're like, this guy, Michael Jackson, in their eyes, they said he's an idiot. Why does he need $1 million? So what he did was he actually brought the money himself. He invested it himself. And I think that by doing that, he actually owned the rights to this thing and could sell it as a sort of short movie. This was such a stupid thing they did. They are stupid idiots. He was 100% right. And then MTV suddenly made it like this big event, and then they showed it, and it became like every video just wanted to be as good as Thriller.
You saying that they are stupid idiots makes me think of Plan 9 from Outer Space. Because you're stupid.
All you of Earth
stupid.
are idiots. Yes.
Yeah, no,
Play it.
you're definitely
Mr.
correct. It was
Nerdic says Sean hasn't seen Goodfellas. His life is
yeah.
basically oh
Yeah.
no. But you should watch it. Really, it's like
I've been wanting to. I just
you
never got
can't not
around
watch
to it.
those movies. It's so important, Sean. It's like
Like
you-
I think we've said like I like mob movies, but they're slow and they're not my first choice.
man, I'm telling you that The Godfather is like that is I'm not saying you have to watch 70 mob movies. You have to watch The Godfather 1
Yeah,
and you have to watch Goodfellas.
Yeah.
And if you have time for one more, you can maybe throw in just for good measure Scarface. That one has a little bit of humor to it. It's like
Mhm.
you kind of have to chuckle, but just for the references, the fact you need to know the references.
I know The Little Friend. I've
Yeah.
seen
But
The
you
Little
don't
Friend to
really
death.
Or
if you don't
first
see
you
the
get
movie, you
the
can't really
money.
appreciate the reference.
Well, I know where
First
it's
you
coming
get the
from.
money. Then you get the power.
I know that
Then
part.
you get the women.
Well, that's just like every man's thought process. Yeah. No, I don't know. It's like I can appreciate a good character uh a character study, but like
Mhm.
if you're a total a-hole, you're not gonna win me over. And I feel like that's what that movie would totally be.
Well,
I'd
see,
be
that's
like, yeah, I'm glad he's dead.
yeah. See that the thing that's great that's really enjoyable about Goodfellas is that it is not just it's in the mob and the family and they all
Mhm.
went out in the end. Okay, so in that film, what you're basically seeing is the rise and fall of the Cosa Nostra, the historical mob. You're seeing them moving from it's a family and we're here and we're protecting everybody and we're in these little rackets here,
Mhm.
growing and getting into drugs and then getting into more and more violence and then eventually some people not wanting to be part of the mob anymore and it really moves through these generations over this 30-year period
Mm,
of what that mob life looked like and how it
yeah.
changed, and it's interesting. Yeah, it's a really
It's
interesting
wonderful.
story.
That's cool, but like at the same time, like I'll watch episodes of The Sopranos, and I'm like, you're still all just a bunch of a-hole thugs parading around as businessmen.
But
And that
that's funny.
frustrates me.
Sopranos has a lot of humor in it. It's fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I still think you should watch. No matter what, you have to watch. Godfather is like the best movie ever made.
It
Yeah,
is. It's incredible.
it's like that you haven't sat for one proper viewing of it from the beginning until the end. You're missing out on something really. Even if you don't like it, it's just not seeing it is like it's like you're missing something in your knowledge of cinema or something. I can't really explain it.
Sean is frozen.
Sean is like very
He's
impressed.
gone.
That's it.
We've decided we keep talking about it and
That's it. He
we've
heard The
bored him.
Godfather was good and he was out.
The Godfather.
He's
No,
done
but
with
The
us.
Godfather is truly it's one of the most amazing films ever made. You could take an entire class and talk only about The Godfather and all the things that it does and the conventions that it builds and breaks and everything. Godfather is amazing.
By the way,
do
I
love
guess
that
Adam
film.
Gray is saying Vincent Price is the GOAT probably because
Yes.
he's in Thriller. He does like the rap.
Mhm.
The
That
spooky
rap, I heard that rap was originally written for Elvira, and somehow it ended up in Thriller.
Oh, could be.
I think that
But-
Vincent Price is a better choice. But what is interesting always about the story, this just goes to show you how people didn't see the kind of vision that Michael Jackson saw. Also, Quincy Jones is also brilliant in his own right. But I
Yes.
think that Michael Jackson had a lot of vision, especially for Thriller. And he really wanted somebody like a Vincent Price. You said Elvira, I don't know. But at the end, they got Vincent Price, and he wanted him to do this kind of rap. And when Vincent Price was asked to do it, he was basically told you have two options. Either we give you a percentage of the profit of this song, or you can have $20,000 now, or something like that. And he said, give me the $20,000.
Mm.
And it's like if he would have taken a percentage of the profit of Thriller, that would have been, even a small percentage would have been way more than $20,000. And then
Mhm.
I think what happened is that maybe his children tried to sue Michael Jackson or something and say, oh, like you didn't know that he was signing off and he's just taking the money. And it's like, I don't know, he kind of took the money and left, so it is what it is.
It was on him. Joshua Culkin said, I probably like Donnie Brasco best. I did watch that back in like the 90s, and I really enjoyed that movie.
See,
Yeah.
for me, Donnie Brasco is like a couple of levels less than, than something like a Godfather or Goodfellas. It's a decent movie. It's a decent movie for sure. It's not on the level of those other ones. Those are the real deal. The Godfather, for me, I don't care. Like if I'm flipping through a channel, if it's suddenly on somewhere, I don't know what. Like I very rare that I could look away. Like I have to then sit there and watch it.
I think I own The Godfather 7 times over on
Jeez, dude.
different media. Maybe more like 5. But
I'm
yeah,
not-
I definitely have VHS, and I had it on DVD, and then I bought it on Blu-ray, and then I bought it. I know I have the 4K Blu-ray, but I think I bought it twice on Blu-ray, maybe because they came out with the recut of Godfather 3, and I bought it.
Please don't say the Coda, because I had to sit through that crap so many times.
Yeah, Coda. Yeah, that was the one that. Yeah. Godfather Coda. That was the recut he did of the third one.
I can't judge too harshly because I have like 5 different versions of Star Wars on VHS.
Oh yeah, I mean I have. Yeah, we've all got those.
Adam Gray says mob stuff is not my thing. It's not saying it's bad. It just doesn't interest me. I respect that. But the thing is that I feel like I understand everything, and you can watch out of a million mob movies. Don't watch 998,000. Like, just watch The Godfather and Goodfellas, and you're good. If you don't want to watch anymore, don't. But not watching those two, I just feel is like you're missing something.
Yeah. See, my wife, she doesn't particularly like him. She says just like she watches them and she's like, these people are all criminals. I can't root for any of these people.
Yeah.
I don't. For her, it's just like there's nothing positive to like lean into in the film because everyone's awful.
But I get that, like, what's his name in The Godfather, Pacino. Like he doesn't want to be part of the family, but it's like his slow descent into becoming.
Yeah.
And I get liking watching a tragedy, but I'm not going to revisit the tragedy over and over again.
I mean, I still think that the first movie, you should still watch it in spite of everything you said. Just to put a check mark. There have been movies that I've watched. I'll give you an example. Apocalypse Now is a movie that people really like, and I really like Francis Ford Coppola, and I watched it. I've probably seen that movie once. I didn't feel like I want to watch it more. It's not exactly my thing. For some reason, I don't love the subject matter and the war and that kind of stuff. It's a very important movie. I'm happy that I watched it. I watched it once. I don't necessarily have to watch it every 5 minutes, even though I think it's a very solid movie.
Well, it's a convoluted movie. Like he didn't even know how it was going to end.
I mean, I realize all of that, but at the end, he kind of made it work. But I guess what I'm saying is that there are movies that are important. I watch them, and even something like 2001: A Space Odyssey, that is a long ass movie.
Oh my god!
I watched that in the theater, not when it came out, but later I watched it in the theater, and it was a very interesting experience. Never felt like watching that movie again. Have a lot of respect for Kubrick. Don't want to watch it, but I've seen it once.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying, Sean.
I love that film. I love it.
I'm just saying that you have to watch a movie once, which is a classic movie.
Yeah,
I love that movie for the monolith. I fell asleep to that movie 5 goddamn times. It's like, it's the dawn of time, and I'm like, holy F, can we skip to the mid-afternoon of time because I'm dying.
It's very conceptual in the way that it's delivered. If you read the book, everything makes a lot more sense.
I would like to.
wrote the film and the book all kind of go together. But yeah, no, I love that film. In fact, I got to see that one in the theater when they did the 4K remaster a few years ago. They released that in IMAX around, I got to go see that in IMAX. It's one of my favorite movie going experiences ever. I went to go see it during a matinee in the middle of the day, and I was the only one in the theater watching the movie. So I was just sitting back, just taking in this epic film with, all the special effects and everything, just by myself, just pick my own seat in the theater. Of course, it was amusing because that's one of the films that if you actually go watch it in the theater, it has a break in the middle, right?
Intermission.
It has an intermission. And so the intermission lasts like 10 minutes and then the film starts back up. They forgot to start the second half of the movie.
Because you were the only one.
No, they didn't realize like they had to flip a switch or something to start the second half. So I had to go tell them like, hey, second after the intermission, the movie didn't start. What? Yeah, the movie didn't pick up after the intermission. Oh, okay.
I'm one of the people that thinks Kubrick is amazing at setting up shots and pulling off tricks, and absolute dog shit at storytelling. Sorry, Bryce.
No, it's fine. And I actually kind of agree with you sometimes. I mean, I liked The Shining. I did like The Shining. And what other movies? The one that for me was more snoozy was like Eyes Wide Shut, that everybody was like, oh, it's so great.
Yeah, Joshua Culkin says, my parents walked in on the demon orgy and Eyes Wide Shut. Yeah.
I'm still willing to give him leeway because there's stuff I haven't seen from him, but like I'm like, man, this guy is so overrated.
I think he has a lot of interesting visual ideas, and when he thought of stuff that was ahead of its time, like 2001, as pompous as it is in the terms of length and how much he drags it on, there's ideas that are brilliant in my opinion, and for their time, really brilliantly executed. So I can tell why he's important, and he has a lot of style. Even if you watch The Shining, there's a lot of stuff that he does.
Yeah, he's got a lot of style.
He has a lot of stuff that he's done that I really, really respect, but these are movies that for me are often not especially rewatchable.
Yeah.
I mean, the Clockwork Orange, also a classic. There's a lot of classic movies here.
Yeah, Barry Lyndon is one. It's beautiful. It's interesting, but it's not one that like I want to go back to a bunch.
Yeah, it's not very rewatchable movies for me. I maybe some people like to rewatch, but I feel like for me, Kubrick is really not a very rewatchable director. But it's fine. People make movies they make, and they do whatever they do. And on that very wonderful, positive note, maybe we should go back and maybe, Professor, you can help me find some of these other people.
Well, believe it or not, I think I've got a list tonight.
Nice.
Just read off from here.
Walking on
air. Yeah. Never thought I could be so free. Let's see. Let's see. We've got Ghost Fixter joining us this evening. Marla Sharondoff, Void King, Mur Rockstro, Smilex was with us earlier this evening. Argentum, Jamalama, Caleb Levine, Captain Palsy, Empress NM, Jonathan Conroy, best name in the business, Marks 47, Mary White, Rabnod Scubla, Eraserhead, Watcher X, David Chen, Eye of Nodic. I think you like that name, Bryce. It's your favorite. The Darrow 7, Whalem 03, Midnight's Edge After Dark. Tom joined us. Thank you, Tom. Sat in on the panel for a
by
few
the way,
minutes
he didn't leave because of the bathtub. He told me he was having trouble with his internet.
Yeah.
I can only assume that that's really true. And it wasn't the bathtub.
It wasn't the bathtub. We swear.
Like, I've had enough of this bathtub. I'm out.
F these kids and their opinions of Neil Gaiman.
Let's see. Gino Biscante. That's a great name. Dude Bro Seth 420, GG Georgie, Conrash, Senpai 76, Kivo 1961, Gene Bondano, Indostan, Phantomunk, Mike Corsi, Istaphobos, Matt Cat 83 popped in for a little bit here. It's nice to see you, Matt. Adam Gray, Facutino 93, The Big Ship, 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser. So yeah, Nick joined us for a little bit earlier. I think maybe he had led a little bit of a raid because I saw a bunch of new faces popping in at that moment. So
I didn't know. So it's too bad. Sorry. Just so you guys know, 32 Flavors of Nick Weiser. He's awesome. And if he sends some people our way, I'm so thankful. He's a really good guy, and you should check out his channel because he does, these cool rewatch parties. And I've been against there at least once, maybe twice. I can't remember now, but I like what he does on his channel. Go on.
Yeah, Zach Updegraff, Daisy Blossom Flower Child, Stephen Mack, Contra Mortem, Cosgrove, The Dead Man, Tim Hayes, Irko DeStefano, Pyromancer, and Joshua Calkins. So I think I got just about everybody. If you think I missed anyone, let me know. But do want to go back to just call out here. No Rumble rants tonight, but we did get some lovely gifts over on YouTube. The Dead Man, of course, gifted us $4.99 super chat, and The Big Ship coming in with 20 gifted Price of Reason Live memberships. So
very
definitely
nice of you.
Thank you
very
again,
nice of you,
Big
The
Ship.
Big
That's
Ship.
very nice. Yeah.
And did
So
we get
got a bunch
everybody
of new
on
members.
YouTube? We got Marla Sharondoff.
Yeah, should be everybody.
Stephen Mack, Mary White. We got everybody?
Yeah, should be.
I have Rudik. We got him too?
Yes.
Okay.
It's true, Your Honor. This man has no dick.
Well, in this case, he himself calls himself that way. So yeah, so once again, also thank you to you guys, Professor R2, and to the real Sean Crummell. You guys should check out what they're doing. They're doing a lot of great stuff. Like I said, Sean has his own comic. We put the links before. It's at Crumbs Comics, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me see.
crumbscomics.com. Go to shop.
Try to share the link again. And that's where you can find his comics. So yeah, it's been a great evening hanging out with all of you guys. And I guess we'll see you all here on Thursday.
I'll try to make it.
That would be great, man. Great to see you here.
Glad to have you here.
Always appreciated.
Yeah.
All right, I think we can head out.
Awesome.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Morning. Whatever.